Whoa!
There you go. You guys can know.
Whoa! Who wrote that song?
What's that?
I said, who wrote that song?
I have no idea. I'm gonna have to confess that like I am not a Kiss fan.
No.
So
Maybe it was P. Stanley. Bob Ezrin, maybe?
I'm not sure.
No.
I don't know the history.
I don't know either.
The real history.
No, I'm not.
How's it going, everybody?
Nice.
Oh, man, I feel like maybe I'm just getting old. I can't see the comments from back here. Oh, jeez.
Nice.
Oh, jeez.
So it is Wednesday, which means
we're feeling good.
feeling good on a Wednesday.
Aftermarket humbuckers.
So
Yes.
yeah, what's up, everybody? It is Wednesday night. We're here for Gear and Beer with our good buddy TJ,
Howdy.
and with us, of course, always is Sam, who
Hiding.
I'll lean like way back so you guys can see
No,
Sam.
I'm gonna move over. I can see where I am now in the camera. I'm gonna move over this way a little bit.
As usual.
Thanks for
probably
letting me know, Luke, when I asked you. Jeez.
See the best guitar player in the room?
Me?
Hands down.
Go back here.
Oh, geez.
Am I more visible there?
So
Or am I worse? I can't tell from here. That's better? Okay, good.
All right.
Sweet. What's up? How's it going?
Ooh.
From the back.
yeah, it's Gear and Beer time.
Yes.
We've got lots of fun stuff to talk about tonight.
Yes.
It's time to talk about bands and touring.
And some fun
And some
guitars,
gear.
too.
Yeah.
Got some real fun guitars here
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah.
And pickups and all sorts of things. TJ, cheers.
Thank you.
Sammy,
Sammy.
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers. Good to have you
Cheers,
here, man.
everybody.
Cheers.
I have this delicious, fine imported Pabst Blue Ribbon tonight.
Robbie, I can kind of read that a little bit. Sean, I can see it. Capital letters do help. Yes.
Yes.
Wow, okay, I understand why old people do that now.
Is there
Did
a
you just call
fold?
Sean old?
No. Like you ever
oh,
look
man.
like I look at like my parents' phone, and it's just like the text is zoomed in so big that you have to scroll like every other word, but it's like I can see it.
I
You know?
just picture Sean right now sitting at home like that guy at the end of like Billy Madison. Like Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison with the name, like the list of names, and like your name is on that list now for calling Sean old. That you know what I'm talking
Call
about? Where he's-
Sean old.
I heard it. I mean,
That's not
Sean
what
was
I said.
typing all
but
caps.
Sean
And he's
doesn't-
like, I
but
understand
Sean
why
doesn't
old people
actually
do
type
this.
like that on a regular basis.
I was on the phone the other day and I was listening to music with the kids and we were in the kitchen and it was something like Air Supply-ish and I got a phone call from a music store and he's talking about how, hey, you want to come pick up a guitar? I'm like, can you hear the music in the background, Josh? And he's like, a little bit. Why? I was like, I just want to let you know that I'm not in my bedroom with putting lipstick on, crying,
Nice.
marking names
Yeah.
off of a thing. He said, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Nice.
But what pickups does John Mayer use? I don't know.
Whatever is in the
Whatever's
silver
in the
sky.
silver sky.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess we could start off talking about that. Thanks for teeing that up there, Luminous Brilliance. What's your feelings on the silver sky? You got a PRS right there.
Yeah, I owned a Silver Sky for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought it
Owned.
from Chris Ulrich.
Very
Past
cool.
tense.
So that means that I worked on it on that Dallas tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought
Which
it
also
from
means Chris, I don't think, paid anything for it.
Yeah, and then I bought it from him, and then I think I sold it for what I paid for it. The cool thing about the John Mayer pickups is that they're all wound to the same DC resistance, right?
Okay.
So they're all wound to like 6.4, whereas like sometimes the bridge is slightly more to give you a little bit,
Right.
neck pickup is a little bit louder.
Compensation.
Inherently. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Fender on their radiused pickups the magnets would be like this big, and then they would go towards the middle. The magnet would get bigger, and then it would get lower.
Yep.
But the magnetic strength of the taller ones is actually a little bit more.
Okay.
Which is weird. So what they did on the PRS Silver Skies, not the import ones, but the Silver Skies, is they used the same height, but underneath you could actually see them staggered.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like it's a very interesting. They're all the exact same magnetic strength. It's just they radius them on the underside, whereas Fenders are all flat on the bottom.
Yep.
And when I opened it up, I was like, what is going on here? And then I watched a couple of videos, and it was like very, very smart. PRS did the exact, so that each one was perfectly the same volume for the radius of the guitar.
That's
Nice.
very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Little knowledge.
Smart.
So there you go. There is actually some stuff put into that is atypical for a Strat type guitar.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
The 7.
I guess that's the debate, right? It's like, is it just a Strat or is it
It's not.
Yeah.
Well, it's configured position-wise, but like obviously there are some different concepts that have gone into it that make it its own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the
Yeah.
7 1/4 inch radius, it needs to be. Yeah. They can have a flat pole, or else it would just the middle strings would kind of get lost in the mix.
Yeah.
But they'd also did some stuff with the import guitars that were also very interesting.
Derek has the Les Paul with the pickguard. Well,
Yeah.
it's not his, so he can't take it off.
TJ brought this,
I did.
and I didn't have time to take it off while he was here.
We discussed it briefly.
Yeah.
Luke and I said we could take it off, and Luke goes, "No,
Yeah.
leave it on."
That's funny. So what's the deal with
You hiding it? Nice.
what's the deal with this Les Paul? Like the
Yeah.
neck feels really different.
Yeah. So that is an '83 custom. It's got a 3-piece maple neck. So I think Justin McRae from the Jess Moskowitz camp played that guitar for a while. But it's like the perfect flying Les Paul because it's not going to break.
Yeah.
Right?
Harder wood.
Harder wood. Yeah.
And
So
it's funny
3-piece.
that the neck feels different. It does feel snappier and like a little more top endy, like
Yeah.
tone wise. But yeah,
It's a nice guitar. It had the original pickups in it last night, and then I had
Changed them.
wound some specifically for this. So I wound that bridge pickup and the neck pickup. I wound a separate neck pickup but I wasn't super happy with. I used some Alnico 6 magnets, and I put it in, and it was just a little bit. It was a little bit different. So I put in this double cream, and I'm just gonna leave it here for a while. You can play it or not,
should tune it.
whatever you want.
Well, that's it. You want me to
Should
tune
tune
it?
it.
No.
No. No. You guys can't see the face he's making right now, but it's very, very devilish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's
Oh,
nice.
Check this out with the
Oh, it's got the yeah.
the flip top.
Wait, what's that?
The flip top tuner things,
Huh.
Yeah.
so that you can wind it easier. Because
Yeah.
this is too hard to hold. This is better.
That's right.
Yeah.
Way better. I've never used them.
No.
I completely forgot that they were on there until I just looked at the tulips and
That's
got
sweet.
a weird.
Literally just, I guess, if you're putting a new string on and don't have a winder,
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier.
So,
Kind of smart.
so for those of you who don't know who TJ is,
We all go way back, I think, aside from,
yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I'm sure the first time I met you would have had to have been at Dauphin Country Fest in some capacity. Probably you doing monitors or something with Doc Walker.
Probably the Road Hammers.
Road Hammers. Okay, yeah.
Which that is probably. I totally forgot about that. A drummer in town in Winnipeg was in a helicopter when they announced they changed the set times, but they didn't tell me.
Okay.
So they announced the band. They announced the Road Hammers. So they send the MC out, ladies and gentlemen, the Road Hammers. The front of the house guy's looking at me going, and he brings down the house music. The band's supposed to walk out, and I was like, no, turn the house music back up. They turn it back up, and I walk over and I'm like, what is going on? And they changed the time by like 30 minutes, but the drummer was in a helicopter when he heard the band be announced on the stage. And they
Oh,
had to
geez.
emergency land the helicopter, and he ran and he played the gig in shorts. Yeah, it was
Steve?
It was weird. Yeah, Steve.
Yeah. Killer drummer.
Yeah, my Stephen Broadhurst.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, I think we would have met there and then ran into each other at NAMM show and probably just mostly festivals and stuff like that
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where else we would have been around, but yeah.
Disneyland.
Disneyland, yeah,
Disneyland
NAMM.
after NAMM.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that was 2018.
probably.
18, yeah,
Yeah. Long
That's
time ago.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
yep.
Pushing our kids in strollers.
How many kids ago was that for you?
2018? At least 2.
2? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 1 kid ago for me, so
Yeah.
yeah. Life has
Yes.
changed a lot since then.
Yes.
I wasn't touring nearly as much as what I am now, but
No. So, all right, that's the perfect segue into the next question I was going to ask you, which
hit
is, so how did a guy from Regina, Saskatchewan, end up on the road with Kiss?
that's a good question.
Mostly, I want to emphasize the fact that you're from Regina.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
How did you survive living there?
So for those of you that don't know, that Winnipeg and Regina have like the biggest rivalry, I would say, in the West, because we are both probably the least desirable cities to live in the West.
Yeah.
So we're fighting for
And the contest is
who's
which
in
is
the bottom.
worse.
And I'm not just saying this to kiss TJ's ass, but Regina is substantially nicer looking in the actual city in most of it than Winnipeg is.
Really?
Yeah. It's cleaner.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, there are
it's
portions
also
of
a lot
Winnipeg.
smaller.
I like
Yeah.
like Saskatoon's cleaner, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know about Regina.
I like Winnipeg. Winnipeg's got a little bit more of this French flair.
Yep.
Yeah, the music scene here is great, by the way.
Yes.
I
Oh,
mean,
it's amazing.
Like
yeah.
the amount of guitar players, the first tour I did was with Doc Walker, which had David Casey playing guitar, but it was
Yes.
like the first tour that David did because Pulver had just left. Sorry, no, Joey was before that.
Yes.
Joey played with Doc before that, which was just after Murray and Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Murray, Joey, Ariel.
You could go.
Ulrich,
I could
like,
name a dozen guitar
Sammy.
players that are all Sammy.
Yep.
I can name a dozen guitar players that.
The one who's Les Paul you were playing with, like Derek
Yeah.
Godfrey. Like
Yeah,
there's
Derek
like,
Godfrey.
Steven.
Yeah, Steve.
Arundel.
Arundel.
Oh,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah.
He's.
Oh yeah, you guys did the Brownlee thing, eh?
Yeah, we did the Brownlee.
Oh man, I was supposed to do that tour with you, but it never ended up happening.
That's right.
That would have been such a time.
Yeah, that was like arranged just before or as COVID happened, I guess. We would have been out in like
Was Tom
April
on that
2020.
too?
Yeah, Tom Gunnervall was on it. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that would have been such a good hang.
Oh, so I was production manager of that, which
Yeah.
like long story short, I got an in with Kiss because a buddy of mine named Chad Guy, who was a Live Nation promoter for a long time in Canada, Western Canada, did all the big names that came through, was working for Kiss and Motley Crue, I guess, before. And then he just he caught wind of me doing some stuff in the Canadian scene and asked if I wanted to go in at like any position. And I said, yeah,
Nice.
go in.
Yeah,
So
'cause
that was the door, I guess, that was open.
Right.
you started in like you were doing like set carts and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Didn't
yeah,
you? Like,
carpenter, so set building, moving around CO2 tanks for confetti machines.
Yep.
And yeah, building a small little bump out thrust. 2018 was my first. And then I took the Guitar Tech gig in 2020, at the start of 22.
Okay.
Yeah, after Fran passed in 21.
Okay.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that's how I got it. But yeah, being from Regina, yeah, it's just all part of it is luck, but part of it is like just focus and
You
hard
worked
work.
with a lot, like you
Just
were
hitting.
working a lot though, like
Yeah.
up here, and that's often, like again, like you just said, it was like through a Live Nation guy that you knew, and like often that's what it ends up being is
Yeah.
like at some point down the line at a gig, you meet someone and then they know what you're about, and
Yeah.
then it, that's often when people ask us like, how do you get this gig? It's like, I think I met someone at some point in this place, and then they were like, we need a guy for this, and it was like cool, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, there was, I guess
But that doesn't happen without working to make those connections happen.
yeah, everything from the Kiss camp, every single, I guess, band that I worked for underneath was all just one step up from where it was before to one step from where it was before, right?
Right.
It started with like, Jim Cuddy, Blue Rodeo,
Yep.
turned into April Wine, I did some local stuff around Regina, Styx would come to town and I'd do some local stuff.
Right.
Working for Sonic Backline from Winnipeg.
Yep.
Right. Doing the backline thing, just kind of working the way up. Got the first tour with Doc Walker Roadhammers. From there, I got hired by a guy named Kevin Bushy for the Tenors, which is my longest tour leg I've ever done. I think it was 8 months.
Right.
And yeah, I pretty much missed the entire pregnancy of my daughter because I was out on tour with the Tenors, and then it just went from there. I was stage manager, and then did some stage managing for Our Lady Peace, Matt Good.
Okay. Nice.
And then yeah, I think that was the last tour where somebody caught wind and they were like, "Hey, do you want to do this thing with Kiss? They're doing this thing this year, and then next year is a world tour. If you do good, then you can jump on." And I was like, "Yeah, please,
Nice.
that'd be good." The lady was like, "No."
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Steven? There's Arundel right there.
There he is.
Oh my, I love that guy.
He tuned in. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Do you know Brent Fitz?
Okay, so
You obviously do. You have to. That's
yeah.
a dumb question.
Yeah, so
I just
Fitz-
realized how dumb that was.
even before I started working at the Backline Company,
Yep.
I was a guitar repair guy at Long McQuaid in Regina.
Yep.
And Fitz doesn't know this, and he was on the last Kiss cruise.
Yep.
With Todd Kearns, they were backing up Sebastian Bach for like an all-star band thing.
Yep.
And I was gonna tell him on the cruise, but I didn't. But Fitzy, great drummer, also bass player in Took. He was coming through with Slash playing drums. He did this drum clinic in Regina, and I was there because he was doing it at La McQuaid. I was working. I walked upstairs, watched the drum clinic, and at the end of the drum clinic, he did a Q&A. And this is my favorite Fitz story, and not a lot of people know it. But I said, how does a guy, almost the exact same thing that you said, how does a guy from Winnipeg start playing drums with Slash, and how does somebody from the prairies end up working, whether it be a tech or playing with a big band? And he's like, it's impossible. You can't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got to move down to Vegas or or LA?
Right.
And my response was, I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll do it.
Nice.
So I was going to tell him that story, and I will one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the guy. He's great.
Yeah.
So is Todd.
I was talking to him because Tuke played at Country Fest this year, and for everybody who's watching, I mean, TJ just kind of alluded to it. So Brent Fitz is a drummer, killer drummer, originally from Winnipeg, has played with like every Canadian rock act known to man, but most notably like Theory of a Dead Man, and then has moved on to, was playing with Vince Neil when I first met him, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And when Motley Crue was on, like, whatever break they were on. And then eventually ended up as Slash's drummer. And so anyway, I was talking to him at Country Fest this year, and he was talking about taking a merch guy to go out with Slash from another smaller band that kind of got annoyed at them. And he's like, and I keep telling people the same thing when they get annoyed, like, everyone in this industry on the working side, like especially on like the tech side or essentially like roadie, whatever you want to call the roadie job, right?
Live music professional.
Yes, there you go. That's better than roadie.
That's a less condescending way to say
it. That you're just leveling up, just constantly if you're good.
Yeah.
And he said like some people get mad, especially people are like, man, we just got this guy and he's great at merch and we had him for 2 tours, and then you steal him. And they're like, he's leveling up, man. Like, he's just moving to a bigger band, more responsibility, bigger gig, and then obviously moves from being the merch guy to some other production responsibility, and they just slowly climb the ladder. And I've always said this, like, when people have asked me, because I've been self-employed now for, 17 years, 18 years. And a lot of people ask me, like, what, advice do I give people starting out? And number one piece of advice I give to anybody when they're starting any business is this. It is never underestimate the relationships that you can make today and the dividends that they are going to pay you in the future.
Yeah.
Because we met from a country festival where I was a rigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I started out doing that job as just a normal stagehand where I would go and I would help as a loader, unloading trucks, building stages, right? And then I realized, hey, if I climb in the roof, they'll pay me more money. So I became a rigger over time, right? And then eventually I got to the place where I was like, you become head rigger and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you've been working with a bunch of these people for 10, 12 years, right? So then you end up investing in an amp company. And the backline guys are like, well, why don't you bring some of your amps here and put them in the backline? No other company on the planet gets to do that. Like, no one gets to go take their stuff and just set it at a festival and be like, and then talk to, top-end guitar players and be like, hey, do you want to plug into that and try it? Like, that doesn't happen.
Yep.
And, I mean, when I started doing that gig in, like, 99 or 2000, like, I had no clue that in 2014 I was going to meet my partner Dan, and that I was going to get involved with this, and that it might eventually, and literally I can say every relationship I have in Nashville, like every one of them, is based off of somebody I met at that country festival.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
It pays out dividends, right? Also, shout out to Rob Walshuk.
Yes.
I mean,
like the best.
Yeah.
Like
Saskatchewan guy.
Yes. Yorkton, a little rougher.
Yeah.
Rough town. I know a couple of Yorkton boys that would not dare get in a fight with. Get my ass whooped real hard.
Yeah, that's Yorkton.
But
that's where the Jess Moskluke is from Yorkton, and she would probably beat me up.
Yep.
For sure, yeah. Man, you're right. Like, just the relationships that you, just sitting down and having a conversation with somebody, you can just end up paying out dividends, exactly like you said.
And be willing to do anything.
That's, don't say no, always say yes. Don't be taken advantage of, but just keep saying yes. Like, the very first tour that I was on, I was a guitar tech for Doc Walker and the Roadhammers. Yep. And after that tour, there was a couple of us that got hired, but Jason from the Roadhammers said, can you come out and be a guitar tech and tour manager? And I was like, well, I know nothing about being a tour manager. He's like, don't worry, like, you'll nail it. It's fine. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, like, you have to know how to advance a show. Not only knowing that at the time, a tour manager and a production manager are 2 different roles.
Yes.
But then, of course, it's like, it's just me and another crew guy.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the tour manager advance, the production manager advance, and then you're doing guitar teching and monitors on the stage at the same time.
Yep.
And it just turns into, that's the Canadian scene to me, though. It's just like, you end up taking on like 2 or 3 different jobs. Number one, because the budget probably isn't there.
Yep.
But number two, it's like the people are just so great. And as much as I love touring with Kiss, doing like the weirdest venues and the like a nice 2-week, 3-week Canadian tour is like, that's where my heart is, dude.
Yeah.
Like I would love it. So watching you guys out with Dallas was like the amount of brotherhood that was out there was like, oh,
yeah.
That's like, I could be sitting in Venice and I'm like, I just want to be in Brandon, Manitoba.
Yep.
And people are like,
man.
are you insane?
Dude, our last tour, literally that tour that I saw you on, our pre-pro was in Brandon because the tour, like, I don't know why they started it there, but our pre-pro was in Brandon. Then we had 3 days off in Brandon in the middle for some reason because the show got canceled. So we spent like, out of a almost 4-week tour, we spent like 6 days in Brandon.
Yeah, nice.
Like,
yeah. Sometimes that's how it rolls.
Like,
or you're this doesn't happen often, but you're driving through the mountains and all of a sudden you got to pull over for like 12 hours because there's a rock slide or an avalanche or something like that, right?
Something.
It doesn't happen everywhere, but
Carl, there's Shuchuk.
There he
Confirm
is.
TJ's willing to do anything.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
can confirm.
I think that's a big thing. Like that's how I ended up becoming a rigger. Is that like, one day when there wasn't a rigger on whichever festival we were at, they were like, "Oh, somebody needs to climb up there, and there's a loose bungee cord." And I'm like, "I'll go up there.
Crazy.
Like, I'll go up there and connect. Like,
Yeah.
that's not hard. And I'm not afraid of heights, so."
Harness or no harness?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool. Got it. Harness.
It was
Got it.
1999, TJ.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's new technology.
Yeah,
came with the paperwork.
Safety.
People didn't use harnesses in
Yeah.
'99. No.
Yeah.
So harness on. Got it.
Yes.
Cool.
Very much so.
Yeah.
5-point only, double lanyard.
Perfect.
And climbing helmet and I don't know what
Yes.
else.
All
Yeah,
the-
orange vest.
Yeah, high vis.
Yeah, high vis.
High
Yeah.
vis.
Because that's what you want on a stage is high vis.
A guy in the roof with
guy
high
in the
vis
roof,
on.
yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly. Yeah,
Amazing.
it was. Yeah, it was a different time. It was a lot of fun, and I mean, it wasn't unsafe most of the time. So.
Oh,
it's
that's
good.
interesting. Best tuning machines. I mean, I think it gets to a point with tuning machines that if you're spending $100 or $200 for tuning machines, you're
getting decent
You're
ones.
getting decent tuning heads. I mean, all of the Paul Stanley stuff are used Goto heads. I mean, the top end Grover stuff. There was a point in time where I was adamant that Les Pauls needed to have locking machine heads
Yep.
to stay in tune properly, but then you put locking machine heads on and you're like, yeah, the break angle does have a lot to do with it, of the headstock, and putting on locking machine heads where you don't have to put as many winds on it reduces the break angle of the headstock, so
Yep.
the tension's a little bit less. But at the same time, it's just a matter of like cutting the nut properly,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Which,
That's what you do.
I'm not saying that guitar's going to stay in tune. I haven't played, obviously.
I'll put it
didn't
out.
yet.
Don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
Different climate,
Well,
too.
Sean said that he would break that neck. When we were talking about the indestructible necks, Sean Tubbs said, I'd break that neck.
He'll find a way.
He should come. Yeah. Come
I'm
and
sure
do
he
it.
can find a way. Say it like it was Derek and you were young and stupid. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yes.
I guess this guitar. What are you playing? You're playing your Schecter.
I got the Schecter here.
This guitar, which I don't think you even know. I was loaned a set of original PAFs.
No.
Yeah, like late '50s PAFs, and that's what's in this guitar, which is kind of like that guitar. Those pickups in there are modeled for me after, like my brand of pickups after like pretty much these.
Yeah.
They are wax potted, whereas these aren't.
'Kay.
But the those should. I'm not saying they're going to sound similar or better.
Yeah.
I think that guitar sounds great, but
Oh,
I'm
it
biased,
sounds
obviously,
awesome.
But
Like
Sounds
I don't know
real
if you
good.
guys heard this one night.
It's quite bright, which I like for a Les Paul. Like I like when heavier body guitars are bright because you just get a nice balance from the actual weight of the guitar. You know?
yeah, which actually this one too.
Yeah. I can. Here, I'll switch for something. Let's see.
Oh, you want to switch out to the?
Yeah, something. Let's see. This is the Gottfried.
Yeah, which I don't think he knows that it's here.
All right. Well, Derek, I have your guitar. You're welcome.
So
I threw it out of tune.
wank wank.
I know how to do that though.
This one does have locking tuners. And do you know what year this is?
No, I think we looked. What do we say? 2008, maybe.
And this has your pickups in it?
Yeah.
Sweet.
But bright, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Comparatively.
Yeah.
Loud.
Tilt boost. Got grab some. Yeah, but like still thick, but there's like a much more top end and kind of attack.
The bridge tone should be a push-push, and as well as the neck tone should be a push-push for coil taps. Yeah, that one. Oh, sorry. I only did a single, right?
Yeah.
The bridge tone is the taps both.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get into that. That sounds awesome.
So so the reason I brought that guitar is it's like the complete opposite of these guitars.
That's not, and these are your pickups.
Yeah,
That sound really good.
I wound those. So
Yeah.
what I did was Derek wanted something that when he tapped it, it sounded really stratty. But of course, like if you want to get into some pickup nerd.
Well, now that I know,
Yes.
now that I know it does that, let's do like a.
So I should explain to everybody. So TJ, you guitar tech with Kiss, but you also have a shop in Regina, and you wind your own pickups.
Yeah.
So Prairie Guitars is pickups and.
Yeah. So Prairie Guitars, I guess, started as like as just a luthier business.
Yep.
Repairing stuff. Turned it a little bit retail. Figure out what we're. Got partnered with a small mom and pop shop in town, so started doing a little bit more on the retail side of things.
Yep.
And then Silljer Pickups is the web.
Okay.
The website's all done. It just I want to find a spot where I'm home so that if I can fulfill orders properly. So the website is done. It just hasn't been launched yet. I was thinking about doing it this week, but I was like, I'm just going to wait until the next. I leave on a European tour in like 10 days.
Yep.
Gone for 8 weeks, so I'm going to wait until I get home from that. Then I'll probably end up doing it. But so Silljer Pickups is the pickups, which you guys got Peg City here, which is like your Winnipeg's boutique.
Chris,
pickup
yeah.
line.
Chris is great. Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
makes great stuff. Yeah, totally.
I think there's a couple of guitars in Regina that had some Peg City pickups that I played, and I like them.
Yeah.
I like them too. He does some cool like the radiator covers on some of his stuff too.
Yeah.
Which is really, really neat. So that guitar, the reason why it's just like got that bright bite for a couple of reasons. One, Derek wanted something that when he tapped it, it sounded a little bit more stratty than just a regular tapped humbucker.
Yeah, and
right?
it does.
Yeah.
Like
so. Yeah.
for Les Paul to sound like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different reasons why. So for lack of a better, you can probably see it on there. So on a guitar, you've got your adjustable coil, and you've got your slug coil, right, on a humbucker.
Yep.
So what I did on that guitar is part of the sound of a single coil pickup is those Alnico rod magnets being nice and close to the strings, rather than the magnetism being transferred through to the poles and then to the strings like in a humbucker. So what I did was instead of using slugs, I used Alnico rod magnets, which I believe PRS did back, I want to say in the 90s and 2000s. They used rod magnets instead of slugs as well. But I also overwound it and used a neodymium magnet instead of an Alnico magnet, which is like, I don't know of a lot of companies that are using neodymium magnets just because it's super, super, super bright.
Yeah.
So then you have to overwind it to compensate to make it a little bit on the darker side.
Right.
So that, anyway, when he taps it, it turns off the adjustable coils and just the slugs are live, which gives it a little bit more of that single coil vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Brings it
definitely
nice and close to the
has
string.
That sounds. That's the Stratty thing.
Yeah, the Stratty spank. And then you could also emphasize it if you wanted. I guess you could flip, like you could put the bridge coil, so the adjustable is more towards the neck and the rod magnets more towards the bridge. So you could flip this coil around.
Right.
Right, to give that extra, because the slug coil is the one that goes live when you tap it.
Right.
So the slug coil would be then closer to the bridge.
So you could get even more top end if you wanted.
Yeah, but when I tried it, I played it like that, and it sounded great. So should be able to do like both things fairly well.
Yeah, that sounds really good, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Dude, I like that. I think Jan just said that you need to have a beard to be able to sit up front with us, and that's why you're relegated to the back.
Beer?
No,
a beard.
a beard.
Oh, that won't happen. It's okay. No, I can just. Oh, it has the locking deck. Sweet. Don't just pull the cord out.
It had the. It was one of those Les Pauls that had the circuit board in it too,
yeah.
so we had to pull all the guts out and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No robo tuners though.
No robo tuners.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I'm actually upset at how good of a guitar player Sam is.
Yeah.
You're too nice.
Every day I'm upset about this.
Amazing. Somebody said up there that MM Pickups uses neodymium magnets, I think. Oh, Tom Anderson uses neos as well? Yeah.
Somebody asked for the spelling on your name for the website so they can order someone in your back.
Oh, Silljer, but I would love if I'll do a huge promo push and I'll send you the stuff.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely.
I love that. That'd be great.
I like that you removed the paint from the.
Yeah, that was like that. That's his thing. Mitch Fraser.
You know Mitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh sweet. That's cool. Oh, yeah,
that's where that S2 came from. Is from Mitch and his brother, Chris.
Chris. Yeah, you got it. Which I think Mitch, if I'm not mistaken, just started working at Long McQuaid in Regina. Yeah. Yeah. Mitch is great. I did a talk at the School of Rock camp and hung out with Mitch for a little bit. I think at the end of last year, beginning of this year. He's great.
See. Oh, my mom's here. There we go. Hi, Mom.
Your what?
My mom's here.
Oh.
It's hailing out. Thanks, Katie. Weather report. Thanks, Mom. I'll be safe on the drive home.
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
Did you do the split, Derek?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. That's cool. See, I could play a Les Paul like that.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of character. I was worried that it was going to be too bright, and of course, it's just more myself being super critical about, like, you play a regular Les Paul, nice and thick sounding, and then I put these in this guitar and I played it, and I was a little bit in my head about it. So I did like A and B recordings of the previous pickups that he had, then A and B recordings of the pickups like now with the splits, and he was like, "It sounds great. Just get it to me." That sounds pretty thick.
Does not sound too bright to me.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
Sounds very nice.
Really good. Yeah. Nice. So that's not a pickup that I would normally do. Once the website gets launched, there's a custom order, and you can choose magnet types and spacing types and all sorts of crazy stuff. But that's another thing. Like, Joey was here 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
When you guys did the D25 release, and he said something very interesting, and I'm like, I probably yelled at my screen. I was like, that is exactly my thinking. Is that like, you guys were talking about the his 2-Rock amp?
Yeah, yes.
And like, when you think about gear, when you think about gear being better than other gear,
yes,
like that's one of the things that I truly believe in is that if somebody's playing something that they are like inspired to play,
yes,
they are going to 100% enjoy that. Like when you're 13 years old, let's say even younger, when you're 10 years old, if you're playing a Les Paul Custom or you're playing a Bullet Strat, like it doesn't matter. No. It's like you're just super interested. I think that's what gas is almost. It's like the need to acquire gear for that like the week or two that you have it brand new and you're just slaying the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
And it feels so good.
Yep.
So that's
almost feels as good as just flexing on Sam about it.
What? I don't need new things. I'm happy with what I have.
there you go. I mean, also too,
Dude,
guitars are tools, right?
I've never been like a guy that's like traded and sold a shitload of gear. Like I've always just had what I like using, and that changes every few years maybe. But
Makes me sad because I'm trying to flex and it doesn't work.
no, I don't care.
I also love gear. I love collecting gear.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it and I love playing it, but I've never like. There have been very few things where I've played it where I've been like, I need this.
Yeah.
You know. Like a lot of the things that have presented themselves to me have just been like, oh, this is great. Like this works for what I'm doing. This makes sense.
Yeah.
You know.
So the pickup thing, I found that I don't necessarily force it, but somebody will come in, they'll be like, I'm looking at switching out my burst buckers to something. And I'm like, okay, what are you interested in? What do you want to play? What type of music? They'll give me an idea, and I'm like, okay, so if you want this and you're looking at tapping it, you don't want to tap a PAF because then you're down to like a super low DC resistance. You want to tap something a little bit more overwound so you have like a 7K when it's tapped.
Yep.
So you want to do something more 14K. Not saying that you can't, but once people get that and they're like, oh, cool, and then you talk to them about how switching out the wire or switching out the magnets or switching out overwound or underwound or like the actual pole pieces to a different grade of metal changes the inductance of the pickup and it moves your resonant peak around. And then winding something for somebody and them having a part of like designing it almost or like input, and then they get it and they play it, and 9 times out of 10 they play it and they're like, I love this. Which is, it just makes them want to play the guitar more. That to me is like the most important part, and I think one of the biggest selling points of doing like a custom wound pickup for me. It's hard because marketing that and sending out, like, obviously you want to have something that is like your generic 6, but the custom market, like, as long as they, and I love somebody that has ears.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
That's the hail. It just started.
Is it hailing up?
Yeah, it's hailing here.
That's funny. It just started. That's wild.
We get new trucks or what?
Insurance claim. Crazy. I don't think we can actually
yeah.
hear that through the mics, but that just kicked in, and that's heavy. Jeez. Sorry, didn't mean to
Guitar
interject.
player.
You can definitely hear it through the mics.
Oh yeah,
for
That's
sure.
wild.
it's crazy how loud it is. Can you guys hear it?
Let's check the thing.
I don't know. Luke's not on top of the comments right now. He's just not paying attention at all. Somebody asked about your Instagram. So
Yeah, Prairie Guitars. At Prairie Guitars. Quentin James. Needing to know the guitar player, the songs, the stage show. There's some a funny story about that. So needing to know the songs. Not a Kiss fan.
no.
I'm not saying that I don't like the tunes now that I've heard them.
It's always weird when you go into a band to work with and you don't know the songs, you don't know any of the cues. They're like, so after this chorus, and you're like,
Yeah, thanks, dude. Oh, there's one of our crew guys. They did they were doing a sound check party, and they started playing a song, and I was like, oh man, it's a good tune. Like, is this a cover tune? And the guy was like, no, dude, this is a Kiss song. And I'm like, oh, cool. I mean, it sounds good. It's a good tune. And then he goes and he tells Paul, when me, Paul, and him were all in a room, and he's like, hey, did you know that TJ thought Firehouse was a cover song? And I was like, I don't know what Firehouse is. But during the show, I think it was on the Kiss cruise, there was like an outro guitar solo in Cold Gin. There's a big outro guitar solo with a rocket guitar and that kind of stuff. But on the boat, they don't have live pyro,
Right.
for obvious reasons. So they changed that, but I didn't know, but they changed that solo section to a different tune. So the song was like at the end of the song, which I assumed was the end of the song. So I talk to Paul and Tommy during the show.
Yep.
So I turn on a mic and I announce whatever song. So like, for example, if like they're nowhere near a set list and like they're off in the middle of nowhere, I pop on a mic and I tell them what song is next or whatever.
Yep.
So the guitar soloist, the song ends what I thought was the end of the song, and the guitar soloist, and I called the next song on the microphone, and all of a sudden they just both kind of like, and I was like, no, okay, and then they went into that ending solo section, and the other guitar tech has me in his ears too, and he just laughed at me. He was like, you idiot, you don't know any of these songs, and I'm like, oh dang. But yeah, once I got to know them a little bit more, that was like my first year of doing that gig, but. To what he was asking was needing to know the guitar player. That's a big part. Needing to know their personality is a huge part of being a guitar tech. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean that honestly kind of makes or breaks the gig for me. Is like I feel like the guys that I've really enjoyed teching with are the guys that like we kind of share a similar a philosophy and like approach to just not like playing necessarily, but just the whole aspect of the production and everything, and like kind of getting on a level with that type of guy who you're working for, and like you kind of need to be in their head as they're playing. In terms of like, okay, this is happening, you know, what are they, like not even what would I want, but like you need to know them well enough to know what their second instinct's going to be if something goes that way.
Absolutely.
So it's important to be working with someone who you can get along with and actually dig into that.
Yeah, part of it for me too is like they have to know, and this just takes time, and it's kind of hard, but they need to know that if they look over to that side of the stage for whatever reason, you know, something is weird with them, and if you're not there, they need to know, or they need to trust that you are doing something, like you're not, you know, having a beer or something like that, you know, or whatever. But like, they need to know that you're probably doing something. You're restringing a guitar, or you're grabbing the next guitar, or something like that. But the majority of the time, if you're right there, then that artist knows, like, they're just paying attention, that kind of stuff. But yeah, knowing second nature what that artist is going to want before he even knows that he wants it is a huge thing. So like, you know, if something like the windsocks on microphones. Here's a good example. You use like windsocks on Paul's main mic, and sometimes Gene will come over and he'll rip it off with his teeth or something like that, and maybe I won't catch it right away. But Paul will walk back and he'll notice that it's gone, and then he'll walk away, and then you know you run out there and like I saw him see that it's missing, and then he walks away. I run out there and pop it on, and next time he comes back, he notices that it's back, and he's just like, oh. Cool. Somebody took care of this.
Yes.
Or, I guess a good example too is we were down in South America, and we played we were playing a V, and Paul's guitar is just the bridge pickup to the middle volume. I guess if we were, to the middle volume on his PS models, it's volume tone. So on the middle volume, which is just a bridge volume, both of the others in the switch are just dead. Okay. So it's wired straight bridge pickup to the middle volume to the output.
Yep.
On the V that we had in South America last year, it was like a triangular, like the pots were in a triangle. They weren't in a straight line.
Okay.
So there was a couple times where I would see him reaching down and turn it down, but then his guitar's still live, and he's like, oh, crap, I just turned down the wrong one. Because it was something that I wasn't used to. So he came off stage one day, and he goes, can we, like, change out the knob? And I was like, or maybe he said change out the pot. And I was like, cool. And then he left, and then the next day I was like, did you think that the pot is dirty? Does he want me to do something so that he knows which one it is? I was like, okay, let's do all of it. Yeah. So I changed out the pot, but also it had speed knobs. So on the speed knobs, I actually melted in, like Dimebag has the melted in on the sides of, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like he's got little dots melted in on the side of the pots with a soldering iron. Yep. So on Paul's, I just took a soldering iron and a 45-degree angle on like every clock position on the knob. So he walks out on stage. On the next show, I hand him the guitar. He walks out, he's on the other side of the stage, and he's playing, and it comes to this part where he turns down the guitar, and he reaches down, and he feels the texture of the melted knob, and he immediately turns it down, and he just kind of like, he's playing, and he goes like this, he goes, good job. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's obviously what he wanted. Right. But something like that, knowing the player, knowing the way that their brain works, knowing that the performance is like the most important thing to those guys, for sure. And like the less they need to think about this, the better show they're going to put on. So when he reaches down and he feels that on a speed knot or on a V or something like that, and ever since then he's just like, make sure that it's just melted a little bit on speed knob so he knows which one. So he can just feel it without even looking. So that's knowing the players is super important.
Yeah, and getting used to like their flow on stage and their actions and mannerisms, and like picking up on those efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And the only thing I have in my ears, which is Paul's guitar, Paul's vocal. Yep. That's the only two things I have in my ears. Which I think the old Fran who was there before had like a nice mix of everything, but I found that like if Gene or Tommy went out of tune a little bit, it was messing with me. I could hear it, and it would just drive me nuts. So I had them all the way taken out, and I have a live tuner on our rig that the output that is sent to our aux box, or we can talk about what the rig is, but the output that is sent to our aux box, there's a second output that goes to a live rack tuner. So when he's playing, and he lets that out, obviously the note that's going to pop up is an A, right? So that A is like bang on. And if I know that A is bang on, or the E, if I see that it's on and I can hear the notes, I know that guitar's in tune, without fail. If you know that root note is on and every single note is lining up exactly where it should, I know that guitar's tuned. I don't care about anybody else.
Yeah.
But it's also weird because you start hearing or seeing something weird, or I guess hearing something weird. I'm off tuning a guitar, and I hear like the guitar go ear, and I'm like, what's going on? And I look over and I see him like doing this with the guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And then he comes back down, and it's perfectly in tune. And I'm like, okay, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
But it's weird to have just one artist in your ears, but that way you know if there's a problem.
You hear it more identifiably.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like with Dallas and with Peach Pit, the other bands, like we are limited in the amount of like lines that we have. And I have to share a mix with whoever. And like Savard and his mix, his guitar is not super up there.
Right.
So it's sometimes if I'm like, is that him or is that something else? And then often it's like, okay, whatever. He does like have everything panned, but you just have to really get used to where
it is in the mix.
Hearing too, yeah, because it's hard to differentiate when it's not right there.
Yeah.
When I'm playing and when I'm teching, I want to hear very different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I'm playing, I feel like I'm in the same realm as him, where like if I'm too present in my ears, I'm way more conscious of what I'm doing, and then I don't lay into it as much, and I'm more aware. Like I kind of want to be less aware because I can just have at her and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Whereas with teching, it's like I need to be able to hear exactly what my guy's got going on.
Yeah, so that if something goes out, you can pull it. And
it's
that's
like,
too.
it. Yeah.
If I'm announcing songs in between songs, if I know a guitar's out of tune, I'll tell him that we need to switch.
Yeah.
And then he'll just kind of look over, and I'll have the guitar ready. We'll do a quick swap, and it's done. He's got a brand new guitar. It's in tune.
Yeah.
Totally. But yeah, that's a super important part.
All right, well, let's talk about the rig then. So you mentioned the aux box. So what is he running?
So Paul's rig is the most rock and roll rig you could possibly imagine. It's so we use 4 channels of wireless.
Okay.
The rest of the guys just use one single strap through the whole show because it's built into their costume. So when they switch guitars, they just take the guitar off the strap, new guitar on the same strap.
Cool.
Out. So they're only using one channel of RF, and then they have a backup channel.
Does it have like locks?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, so they'll switch RF packs if the RF goes dead or whatever. Paul uses 4 separate channels, different straps on every guitar. So 4 channels of RF that go into a JX44 radial switcher, 4 ins, 4 outs. So I got on my inputs, I guess is my 4 wireless channels. On my outputs is main amp, backup amp, a dead spot, which is essentially just a DI line if we need it.
Okay.
And then there is the out to my tuner.
Okay.
There's also a separate out that's just like no matter what guitar is on, it's sending out an output to a Sans amp, which is like a 3rd string backup in case we ever need it. It's just a patch that if the front of house guy needs it, like if both amps die, he can just bring that up and at least front of house has a guitar, monitors has a guitar. So from the JX44, it goes out into a Paul Stanley model Angle.
Okay.
Which is just like Richie Blackmore changed into the Artist Series, which they switched from EL34s to 6L6s, I believe, for the Artist Series. And then they just tweaked the EQs a little bit, and that's the Paul Stanley model. It's just a tweaked Artist Series Angle. And then out of the head into the aux box.
Yep.
2 lines out of the aux box, a left and a right. Our patch on the aux box is essentially a 412 cab with a 409 and a Royer, I think. Or 50, I can't remember what card it was.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah?
Also, Leafs are winning 2-0 with 10 minutes left, Robbie says.
Yeah.
What? Oh, I didn't know that. And then, so the problem that I have is that if you're running your aux box and you're running a main and a backup head, you need to hot patch that out, right? If you only have one aux box, because it obviously takes the load, and then the load goes out to a cabinet.
Yes.
Right? So in the event of an amp failure, which, knock on wood, I've never had an Angle amp failure, but I would have to hot pull that plug and go on the output of the backup amplifier and hit it on the switcher. So it's one extra step than just pushing a button, but if it needs to happen live, then it'll happen live. There's also the Sans amp that's always running if they needed an emergency backup. But that's it. And then every once in a while, we run into a weird venue that's a little bit noisy, or we're playing a guitar that has a weird, some of the cracked mirror guitars that we have, or the rhinestones, just that much plexi or glass on the front, and then the pickup rings are metal. It has this weird overtone, this weird, and it drove me nuts for a while because I thought it was just a microphone and pickup, but it wasn't. It was just like the ringing of that top is super glassy.
The actual resonance of that.
Yeah, it's this weird pinging. So I ended up just putting a G8 in the line.
Okay.
That if he's playing that guitar, or if you run onto a stage that we're like right near the power or near a truss, that is
There you go.
noisy.
Yeah.
put it on, push the button, and
Yeah.
it's silent. And then if there's any like then I'll just turn it off.
Right.
If I know it's about to suck it, then
Yeah.
I'll. But for the most part, he's.
Yeah.
But the most important single channel, all the time. He's like definitely like a. And just like control it all with the volume.
Yeah.
Right.
Very old school, which I love. It's easy for me. Like Sam's probably. Oh, Leaf says hi. That's my little boy.
Nice.
Hey, buddy.
Sam is probably a much. Like I've been through Kempers and Axe FX and the neural stuff, but like to work on a rig like Paul's rig is like it's the best.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
so
dude.
little failure.
Yeah.
Because there's so little items.
Yeah.
That it's great. And I mean, you could do all the MIDI switching, and I'm sure.
Well, it's funny because with Peach Pit, I mean, it's not to the same degree as Kiss, but like pedalboard, cable into a print.
if you're, if,
you
you
know,
if you're
like-
gonna have a failure, it's gonna be in the pedal board.
Yes.
More than likely.
100%.
Right.
100% of the time, it's been MXR pedals.
There you go. There you go. I did an Alexis on Fire tour.
Sorry, I love MXR. Not a diss. Chris
No.
has not changed the pedals he's used since he was probably 15 years old, and they've
Yeah.
lasted this long and been mangled on
That's
tour.
that's
So-
the same thing.
All
with,
I
with
heard
the,
is him saying that MXR was shit.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
No, that's how you
didn't-
think.
No, I don't. I like the guys at MXR, man.
I know, they
They're
were
super
super nice.
nice, and you know what? They're not gonna like you anymore.
No, they're not. That's
Didn't
okay.
Joey say Strymon was shit 2 weeks ago? Was that? Yeah.
That was Derek, wasn't it?
No,
Was it
I
Derek?
said FedEx was shit.
Well, FedEx is
Stand
shit.
by that.
I will stand by that.
I will also
And
stand by
UPS.
I will say
Both
that
of you I'm angry with
my
right now.
timeline has broken like 3 times.
Oh man.
And I've sent it back. But it's
I've never actually
and-
broken an MXR pedal ever.
and the L cap on his board is sucking volume or tone.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
listen to this.
It's not a power thing.
No. It started doing it randomly.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And it's funny
It's gone.
because it's the second one that's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a good guitar player.
Yeah. It's a real guitar player.
Why? Because I can do scratches?
Yeah.
Could do it. Yeah. The I contacted Keeley to get some pedals just because on the cruise there was a lead part that Paul did on the cruise, and he was like, "Oh, just put something in front of it," and I was like, "Okay, like let's get a TS or something like that," and so yes, they all have the same profile as the. They're a little bit different than the Iceman. They're more like a Les Paul. For sure. He's like a traditional Les Paul kind of guy.
60s or 50s Les Paul neck? The fat neck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're validated, Luke.
So yeah,
Oh, you like the fat neck? Yeah, that's because you're 7 feet tall, dude.
he likes the
Huge
big.
mitts.
I contacted Keeley and I asked. I went up to Paul. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna contact Keeley about getting some pedals." And he goes, "Like pedals for my bike?" And I'm like, "No, like pedals for your guitar." He's like, "Guitars don't need pedals." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. All right." So I ordered some, and now whenever we play that song, I'll just put like a G2 or an Oxblood or a TS, whatever I
Yeah.
happen to have in that rig, and I'll just put it in line. In the event that he's doing a lead part that needs that extra.
Yep.
Because on the cruise, I had to I didn't have anything, and he's like, "Yeah, just bump it up," and I'm like, "Okay." So like old school.
Yeah.
He plays the solo, back down
Yeah.
on the gain and the volume, and give him that extra little bit of saturation and stuff like that. But yeah. So now I just have a.
It's funny you were talking about that. When we toured with, I teched for Default on
Yeah.
the tour that we did with Stone Temple Pilots and Seether. And Dean DeLeo is much of the same mindset with his rig, like very old school. And he has like a whole set cart that rigs out. And his solo boost is literally just engaging an AC30 and making it louder.
Yeah. Just like, oh,
It's awesome.
More
Like,
amps.
yeah. That
Yeah,
amp
more
is
amps
just
makes-
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. He's using this Demeter preamp into just some Marshall 412s with a bunch of pedals, and then the solo boost just engage. It's like an ABY that just turns on the Vox.
Nice.
My
And
solo boost is
Savard
the
was
second
playing
amp.
through it, and it was like,
Or fourth.
man, it's just so much power.
That's
Like,
great.
Yeah,
I dig that. The
his tone was unreal.
I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's nothing beats an amplifier that's turned all the way up. I think anyway.
I agree. No, I agree. I get both sides, but you can't beat it. Like, yeah.
You can't beat moving air.
No.
I don't care.
And like physical mechanics happening in the amp that are totally variable to the components in there. Like,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it goes back to like what you were touching on earlier and what we touched on before about like being inspired, right? Like there's something about how that feels to you when you're moving air. It doesn't, to me, I know that there is, essentially physical and technical magic happening when you get power transformers saturating and like when you crank the shit out of things, right? But more than that, there's something about once you get the volume over a certain level with almost any amp and you're standing in front of it, unless you're a shit guitar player, you play better because it is way more fun and way more inspiring.
Yeah, there's a couple things there that, so an anecdote was we were, I was guitar teching for the Roadhammers. We did a gig in like BC, Merritt, BC, and we flew over to.
If you guys don't know the Roadhammers, both Jason and Clayton are phenomenal guitar players.
Great
and
dudes.
like everyone in that band are great dudes, not just those two dudes. But yeah they're good dudes.
We did this gig in Merritt, and then we did like not an overnight, but early morning flight to fly east to do an afternoon spot at the Fredericton Country Music Festival or something like that. So we roll in, it's like festival already started, you're landing, you roll in your backline. Luckily, the East Coast has a really great backline company.
Tour Tech?
No, Tour Tech East is like mostly
They're more production.
Yeah, it's 211. What's the area code in Halifax?
204.
Is that Smith?
I guess
No, 902.
902.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
Good.
Come on,
The other place I live, 902.
So Andy Robichaux owns a backline company in the East Coast, and so we land in Fredericton, and I walk on stage, and I talk to the backline. I'm like, all right, what do you got for the Roadhammers? Like, we're literally up next, only line check, no sound check. And he's like, I got an AC30, deluxe reverb, and I said, great, that handles J. What do you have for Clayton? He goes, oh, I got this cool vintage Plexi, and I'm like, oh, can I see it? And he goes, yeah. So he pulls out this white Tolex Plexi from the 70s. And I was like, how's it sound? And he's like, it sounds the best. Yeah. And so front of house guy goes up to front of house. The band's getting ready. I'm on deck. Changeover. I'm putting down pedal boards. Plugged in Jay's rig, and he's running like a stereo rig, an AC30, and I think it might have been a DeVille or something like that. And then I was like, okay, cool, this works. Put the guitar down, grab Clayton's Les Paul, and I walk over to the Plexi, and I just turned it all the way up.
Yeah.
I just like dimed it, and I hit the go on his pedal board, and I played it. In the front of house guy, all I heard over the radio was like, what the? And I was like, yeah. Does it sound good? He's like, yeah, but don't point it at me. And I was like, oh, right. 45 off stage.
Yeah.
Clayton walks on stage, and he's like tired from the night before we just played. He's like, what do we got? And I was like, you're good. Trust me, you're good. And he goes, oh, really? He goes, yeah. Walk out, and those guys are like performers too, man. Those guys are just like,
oh yes,
they'll hit it full on all the time. And he goes out and he just plays like that first chord, and he's just like, lights up. And then like probably one of the best sets he's ever played. Even though it was like super tired from the night before, it's just something clicks that day. You get that extra special amplifier, and you hit that first chord, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great.
All right, so here's where I'm gonna plug our stuff for just a second for a story very similar to that. So Joey Landreth, who, if you guys were watching the D25 live stream, Joey was here with us. He's like an old friend of everyone here in this room because he is, like, Murray Pulver is a great guitar player. So is Ariel Posen, all of those guys. The first time I saw Joey Landreth play guitar, I was like, holy shit, who's this guy? Yeah. Right? Probably because he was doing the slide thing and I'd never seen that in person like that. And like the type of guy that, like, when you watch him play, he's gonna dive off the edge of the stage as far as his playing goes. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like, I've said a million times, I've seen a ton of brilliant guitar players that can play a set and you're hugely impressed, right? I'm like, but Joey Landreth, and they won't have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Joey Landreth can play 20 wrong notes and I'll still pick my jaw off the floor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? And so the first time Joey tried our amps, it was at Dauphin Country Fest. him and Ariel come in back when Ariel was still with the Bros, and they both play the Generator 740. I had a little Seafoam green one there, and Joey's like, "Yeah, cool, man. I'm using these." He was using Wawa amps, which is Jason Warawa from Winnipeg, who also built like killer stuff. I don't know if Jason's still around, but you guys should check them out.
Those
too.
amps were really good, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so Joey had his own little thing there with him, and Ariel actually ended up playing our rig, I think. And then, anyway, I could tell like Joey didn't care about it at all. Mm-hmm. And fast forward a few months, and Pulver does his what was his record called? Like the Friends.
Yeah, he did like a bunch of duos.
Yeah.
With,
I can't remember what the record was called, but it was a record where, yeah, it was him duetting or like just collabing on almost every tune with his friends, right?
Yeah.
I think it's called Murray Pulver and Friends.
Yeah, something like
Murray
that.
Pulver and Friends, right?
Right.
So Murray calls me. He'd use the Generator on a lot of the record, right? And he says, "Hey, doing this little CD release thing, and just wondering, like, could I borrow one of those amps?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And he's like, and I'd like to invite you down to the. I'm like, "Yeah, of course," right? So my brother Scotty and I go, and I'd given Murray the 740 and the 1x12, same green one, right? And we get there, and I don't even know if Joey probably won't watch this, but if Joey ever sees this, I don't know if I've actually told this story about him before. But anyway, my brother and I are there, and the Bros get up to play, and it's Joey and Dave and Ariel and Murray. And Ariel goes and plugs into like the Fender that's on the back line, and they plug Joey's board into the Generator. And I was like, "Oh, this is going to be fun to watch," because I said he didn't like that amp at all before, right? But he didn't see what they plugged him into, because it's like any of those shows where it's run and gun, right?
Yeah.
Board down, plug in. Anyway, so Joey's facing away from the amp, and like he hits like one chord, and his head like whips around, and he looks down, and I looked at my brother, and I'm like, uh-oh. And he turns around, and he's just got this massive grin, right? And I was like, I'm like, that's not what I was expecting. Show ends. That night I get home, there's an email from Joey Landreth being like, "Hey, what the fuck was that amp that I plugged into?" He's like, "Whatever you changed, that's not the amp I was playing." And I was like, "This is the exact amp that you were playing. Like, it's the same one." I'm like, "But
in a different environment."
Different environment. And as guitar players, it's horrible to say this, but it's 100% true. We all hear with our eyes first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he saw it at Country Fest, and it didn't look like his vibe and his thing. And he immediately was like, "Look, I'm going to be doing a new project that I'm not talking about, and I'm wondering if you've got a couple of amps around. I'd actually love to check out all your stuff to see if there's anything I could use on the record." And that was when he was about to do the first like Whiskey solo record.
Oh, interesting.
So that was like the start of Joey playing any of our stuff. So I took him down the 740, and they ended up using it on the vast majority of the record. Like not all of it, but the vast majority of it ended up being. And he's like,
That's
"Man,"
killer.
he's like, "I'd love to get one of these." I'm like, "I'd love to get you one."
Was that at did they cut it at Stereo Bus?
Yep.
Yeah.
Those guys are brilliant. Like Paul E. and Murray as a team are just brilliant.
Oh.
Like
I've been in the room with Murray doing some producer input on tracks as he's doing it, and it's like I don't know, he's like so well versed in cutting tracks and producing, and they were doing some tune, and he was like, "Okay, cool, let's lay down this guitar," and he lays down this guitar part, and then he's like, "Cool, run it again," and he just starts texturing. Run it again, and he textures a little bit more. He's like, cut that. Does this cool like swell thing in here, and what comes out after 15 minutes is just like, it's gold.
it's the
He's
same.
crazy good.
Yeah.
It's the same as like watching. So like any of you guys that we're using them tonight. We're using the direct outs on all of these. We don't actually have any of the amps live in the room right now. It's all torpedo direct out stuff. All of the presets here, Sean built for us, but all of the Dyne IRs in the tune-out system, Paul did all of them at Stereo Bus.
Okay.
And watching Paul mic cabinets is
It's the
hilarious because there is a lot of science to miking a cabinet unless you watch Paul do it, because he knows it so well, and he knows, like, he's been working out of that studio for so long and doing it for so long. You'd watch him walk up to like a cabinet and like
Gung.
mic down, point, and back to the control room. like he'll
Like
maybe look
2
at it and be like,
seconds.
and then go back. And I'm like, there's no way. Like I remember he came to NAMM with us and he never asked for anything for coming to NAMM. Like we take care of like getting him there and keeping him there and all that.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to be paid. So we were wandering around and that Dynamount company had borrowed one of our 4x12s to show like how those like, do you know what the Dynamount thing is?
Yeah,
Like
there's
those
something that's
real
connected to
bar
the cab.
things?
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Articulating arm.
Yeah, like it's all controllable by an amp and stuff.
Yeah.
So Paul was like, he's like, oh, those things are cool. And I'm like, do you want one? He's like, well, I would need a pair for what we do at the studio. So they're expensive. I'm like, cool. So I go to get our cab and I talk to them like, how much if I want a pair of them? And they tell me the price and it's like more than half off because they're like, thanks for the cab and stuff. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, can I take the 2 you have here? And they're like, sure. So we're going to load out and I like come back with him. He's like, where did you get those? And I'm like, here you go. And I'm like, they got me a deal and you said it was cool. I'm like, you use them? He's like, oh yeah. They have sat. He's used them like once. And he's like, takes me longer to like set it up than to just mic it properly.
Yeah.
And
amazing.
I mean, I know like the couple of times that I've asked for DI tracks for you
Yeah.
when we were doing stuff there, Paul's like, why? And I'm like, Sammy might want to reamp. He's like, get it right going in.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, that's it. He's like, get it right going in. I'm like, well, it's not because of that.
No, it's
I'm
because
like,
I don't have a place to mic an amp here.
Yeah. So, but that's his like philosophy. And those guys they are all like that. They are all like, yeah, they understand. And I think because there's nothing to do in Regina or Winnipeg, that if you're a musician, it's the same with hockey players, right? Like, the Leafs won.
Yeah?
We are never going to live this down.
Oh, no.
Like, no. Does Edmonton play today? Again?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Sports?
Luke,
So,
does Edmonton play today?
Is there
Panthers in 5,
lots
baby.
of sportsing? Anyway, I think like you end up working on whatever it is you're doing, like whether you're playing an instrument or whether you're learning hockey or whatever. And a bunch of those guys ended up all playing together. And when you're surrounded by, it's the same in anything. When you're surrounded by other like driven and passionate people about whatever you're doing, everybody just levels up together.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily because they're trying to compete.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's because you're trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And you're
Murray
like-
Pulver is probably the least competitive person I could ever imagine in my life. Yeah. He is like just the nicest, welcoming person that I think I've ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing.
And just a scary guitar player.
Oh, my.
Scary good.
Have you ever actually watched Ego Spank play?
No.
It's terrifying.
I'm sure.
Like, oh man. Yeah,
I want to see it.
Him, Dan. I don't know if you know Dan Wah. He's like a drummer in town, a drummer, mandolin player, vocalist, like alien musician. Like they're all like Murray level at what they do. Like Gilles Fournier is playing bass, Mark Arnault on keys, and like it's just like jazz funk fusion, like some pop covers that they do stuff on. It's just nuts. Like when they go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Murray does everything
see
from
it.
like Guns N' Roses through to
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good.
like
Murray Pulver is amazing.
yes. Everybody who's not from here is like, who the hell are they talking about?
Yeah,
And like,
yeah, no,
what
but
are they
you
talking
should
about?
know though.
Sorry.
That's the
Murray
thing.
played
like,
in the Crash Test Dummies.
Yeah.
All right? Any of you guys that know the Crash Test Dummies? It's Murray Pulver.
Yeah.
Come on.
There's no more Canadian band than the Crash Test Dummies. There's how many bars are in Regina? The Pump closed. So yeah, maybe 2. There might be 2 bars in Regina. Winnipeg's bar scene is probably a lot better.
It's not
I don't
great.
know. I'm like old and have kids and live outside of the city, so
Yeah.
And I was never into the bar scene anyway. I got married young and I didn't need to go to bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
but I was talking, you know Jeremy Bortat from Rivertown Saints?
Yeah, I know the band because they were on the same management company as the Roadhammers for a while. They were RGK, but I don't know who they're with now, and I don't think
They were independent for a while and might still be. So are the Roadhammers, aren't they? They're definitely not with RGK anymore.
Yeah,
Seems like
know.
everybody I know is not with RGK anymore, but whatever. I don't know why.
The Hunter brothers are.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I like Ron.
I don't know him at all.
We just did a gig in Brandon. Ron was there.
Nice. I don't know him at all, so I just have a bone to pick with anybody that was involved there because the Rivertown Saints, like our buddy Jeremy, they're pop country, right?
Yeah.
They have this song called Bonfire
Okay.
that I think is probably the worst song that's ever been written in the history of all songs.
And your
Like,
buddies
you
with the
told
guy?
Jeremy this.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The song is just dog shit. Like just the worst. I was telling him this today that I thought it's horrible. And I was actually like half-ass rubbing it in his face that like so it went to number 9 on top 40 in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's their highest single. And he's not a fan of it either. But the label, like it was the song that the label said to release. And I kept telling him other songs that were better that were on the record. I'm like, you should push this. And on Spotify, their like number 9 single has like the worst plays out of all of them. I'm like, because the song's shit. I actually got Sean to play the riff one year at Country Fest, or not Country Fest, at NAMM. I'm like, Sean, can you play that riff you hated? He's like, oh, this one? And he plays the Bonfire riff. He's like, awful.
Videotape it and send it to your buddy.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
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 I have
Just
to
'cause he
listen- I
loves
have to listen
Sean.
to the song. I don't know it.
You don't know Bonfire?
No.
Oh, everybody go listen to it right now while you're watching the stream. Just pull it up on Spotify and just in the comments section, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Like this will be like Pickard versus no Pickard. Like, see, this guitar is right.
Yeah.
See that? It's just
That
right.
one's wrong.
Yeah, that one's wrong.
No.
Feels
Get
good,
it?
but
Oh.
it's wrong.
Yeah.
He's not into it. The
Fucking, let's see these tuners.
I do love the fact, like you were talking about PRSs. How many of you guys that are watching here are PRS guys? Let's do the poll of PRS versus Gibson. I mean, I like both, but
I'm a PRS guy.
you're a PRS guy?
100%.
Okay.
I would own more
PRS
of
for
them
me.
if my wife would let me.
She was watching earlier. I saw that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'll sneak more home and she doesn't know. But a core model, core model PRSs are like, probably. The thing about PRSs, I think somebody asked earlier about S2 versus
I don't know what happened
SE?
there. Yeah.
S2 versus SE.
Are you in standard?
I am in standard, yep. I think as far as the price points for each of those, you can't go wrong. I haven't played, I've working at a music store and doing guitar repairs at home and setups. An
Me
SE
too.
or an S2.
Derek, did you see Robbie's comment?
No, go ahead.
Nice.
I'm telling you guys. Okay, just one thing. Listen to that and then listen to the song Turn It Up.
That's a good
That's
song.
a good tune. Those dudes, like, good show, good dudes. Bonfire sucks.
The PRS thing is like, they're Bonfire by Rivertown Saints.
Yes, Rivertown Saints.
The S2 or the SEs, I've never played one that was bad. They're all
consistent.
they're all consistent. Like their quality control
Even
is.
for one of Darren's backups, we had like an SE model that he actually ended up using for a couple songs just because he liked how it sounded.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
really not bad.
They're great guitars.
Yeah.
However, PRS. Wait, did they say Gibson versus Fender?
Gibson versus
David, the
PRS.
band is called Rivertown Saints.
Gibson and Fender. If it came down to it, I'm a 25.5-inch scale guy through and through. So
Strat scale?
Strat scale, Tele scale.
Yep.
Ibanez, I guess, except for the PS models and the Icemans are 24 3/4. But
Okay.
I don't know, that scale just, I guess, it's probably more what I learned on, but I don't know. The engineering of a bolt-on neck Tele Strat is, I vibe with that more than what I do. But a 25-inch scale PRS is a great guitar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, custom 24s are probably one of my. Once you go Jackson, you never go back. Son,
Nice.
I get that.
And this Les Paul just feels so solid. Like when I pull on the neck, like it's just so like I don't know. It doesn't give as much.
Yeah.
I like this Les Paul. I just said PRS, but I like this a lot. Boost.
And this, like,
That's the tilt boost into the boost side of the tilt.
Nice. Straight up rock and roll.
Sounds good.
and these are just low wound PAFs.
These Fishman pickups are crazy hot. Like, or maybe just loud.
Yeah. Do you have a tap or anything for the different voicing on the? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a little bit darker.
I don't know anything about any of that stuff,
Oh,
TJ.
you got more.
I don't know. I don't use any of that stuff, dude.
That's what I like about Fishman. So
What's up, Chad?
if you're oh, there you go. If you're talking, so here's the cool thing about Fishman Fluence, and if you pickup design for me is like, Fishman was the first people to like really innovate the pickup design, right?
Yep.
So like a classic wound pickup is just like thousands of turns of wire around a bobbin.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure, and I don't know this 100%, but Fishman does almost like a printed circuit board.
Yep.
And they layer it on top of each other.
Yep.
To make the coil, and then they just tap it out at wherever and buffer the signal to give it a specific resonant peak. Whereas the old vintage style would just be like, wind it, 5,000 times per coil, stick it on an oscilloscope, see where the resonant peak is,
Yep.
try and voice it that way. It's like this extra thing. So I do enjoy the engineering that goes into the Fishman Fluence. I do like the sound of like, just like that. Of a well, this is obviously a vintage pickup, but like even a pickup that's voiced like a vintage pickup.
Yep.
It's just a little bit more responsive,
Yep.
but that's me. Also, there's like, that sounds good. Yeah, it's pretty responsive.
These are the classics, which my favorite set is the Willie Adler set.
Yeah.
But for like just straight up rock and roll, it sounds better. Like I know it's supposed to be metal, but the reason that I wanted to bring this guitar out is because they're like sisters. They're the same color, and we just found this out, and that's why I got this one out. They're both like trans, like they're not trans black. It's almost like this weird trans like dark charcoal.
Yeah, charcoal.
Yeah.
But not a burst either. It's just a straight charcoal trans.
Yeah.
Which one's prettier? I think yours is prettier. More pretty?
Well, the only reason I think mine's prettier is because I found this out after I had owned the guitar for 5 years. I never noticed it, but it is a single. You guys won't be able to see it, but this is a single solid piece, like solid quilt top.
Yeah.
Like it's not matchbooked. It is, but it's not labeled. I don't know if it's too old, but it's not labeled a 10.
Oh,
Even
yeah,
though
yeah.
I don't see how
It's not a 10
it's
top.
not a 10 top,
Yeah.
especially by today's 10 tops. Moons are better than birds. Dave,
Whoa.
what? Whoa, come on now. Come on now. Luke, are we agreeing on that birds are better than moons? Or no? Yeah.
The birds are the best inlays that PRS has.
Yes. So
Yes. Hard yes.
I do kind of want to get it refinished because of the fact that it's such a nice piece of wood. But I love this color.
Would you do like a nice transburst?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big burst fan.
My custom 24 is a maple leaf burst,
Okay.
artist grade top, and Carina.
Okay.
Neck and back. It's like, I don't know, just this. Carina is a little bit, it depends on the cut, but a little bit lighter weight. Much like mahogany, but it's, I don't know. And I spent way too much money on it.
Yeah.
As I told you earlier.
Yes. As you do. Are the birds
That's what
real?
happens.
Yes. I do prefer this is the SC250, and I'm pretty sure yours is a 250. They have the more like the 50s Gibson neck.
Yeah, the nice.
Like I like the 60s pattern thin more.
Yeah.
For PRS guitars. So this was the first one that I bought, and it's not as fat as a 50s Gibson neck.
Right.
So it does feel kind of in the middle a bit and better.
Got a little bit more of a slimmer. Somebody said maybe asymmetrical, I think is what they said on. Somebody commented a long time ago.
Yeah.
An asymmetrical car. But
Yeah, I'm always nervous about that. Like It's kind of like that Telecaster I have right there, that Bluesman vintage one. The neck on it is like a baseball bat, but it is the best sounding Telecaster. And the neck feels like Wendell Ferguson. Do you know Wendell?
Yeah. How do I know Wendell Ferguson?
He's always at like different
music.
festivals and
Yeah.
Anyway, Wendell's like another like Canadian
Yeah.
guitar singer-songwriter legend, right?
Ontario? Where's he from?
Maybe West Coast. I don't know. You know what? I shouldn't say anything.
You might be right.
Anyway, Wendell actually asked about. I had that guitar at Country Fest one year. He's like, "Can I buy the neck off this guitar?" And I was like, "No, like, not a chance."
It's very Richie Kotzen.
Yeah, but the thing is, if I could, I would. Did you just kill the power? And then
Yeah,
it
I
came
stepped
back?
on the power bar.
That's
Sorry.
okay. I was like, did
I
everything
looked and I was like, my pedalboard is dead. That means other things are probably dead. Let's fix that.
Guitar check that rig.
I do want to shave it down because I have other Tele necks that are way more comfortable. But I'm exactly what he just commented there, that like, if you do it, what happens if it's not as cool? And you're like, I had something really great, and then I messed with it. And that's a little bit how I feel, as much as like, I feel like if I had this refinished, when I got it back, I might be like, aw.
Yeah. You know
Like
what you
it's-
could do? You could just buy another one.
I did. I did. Several.
Yeah. I have
Not
a guitar in my shop right now, which is a Tremonti, but it's a translucent purple burst.
Ooh, that sounds really nice.
Nice. Flame top.
Is it their bursts? Okay, so you saw the one that's in my office. So that's called the Contour Burst, and I love. Do you want to grab it? Yeah. So since we're talking about PRS, how many people here are PRS fans? The nicest PRS I have, since we're talking about it, is without a doubt, hands down,
The DGT.
that DGT that's right there that you should play, because you will be sad after you play it.
Sad like I want to buy it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was on like a huge PRS kick for years.
That's,
where, like,
I love that guitar.
yes. This is, without a doubt, my favorite finish on the Tremontis. So this is called Contour Burst, okay?
Yeah.
So it's black into this like brownish charcoal. It's not quite their like light gray.
Yeah.
This is the one that, like, if you guys are Mark fans, that Mark has this same guitar with a Dimebag Darrell sticker on it behind the bridge that he's been using for years. What I love about this guitar that PRS doesn't do, because they have another one that's actually called Charcoal Burst.
Right.
Which
I feel like the burst is a little bit more into the guitar.
Yes, there's black all the way up here,
Yeah.
and it drives me nuts.
Oh, you want to see the upper bow, the flame on the upper bow?
Yeah, I'm like,
gotcha.
why wouldn't you want to see as much of the top as possible? Like, why would you put a pickguard on a guitar like this, Luke? Like, you don't.
The other Les Paul, the tuxedo, whatever they call it, the tuxedo custom. I mean, you're not covering up much. It's just a plain maple top.
Yep.
Pickguard on that, or still no?
I mean,
You can say no.
not really. I mean, I don't mind it on like Dorian's. Yeah, but you know what? It would look better without it. So
oh yeah.
I'm not mad about it. I'm mad about others. You like the teardrop style burst? What is wrong with you?
Didn't you just buy one? The Adam Jones.
Go ahead and hit enter so that everyone sees your ridiculousness, Luke. Like, yeah. Parka on a supermodel. Yeah, 100%. Tell me that's not like
Did it go
the
out?
most comfortable neck.
Oh yeah, it feels great.
Yeah. It's a.
It too, in the tone. To pull it up though, and it's really annoying.
This one?
Yeah,
Really?
back one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying.
That's a hard pull.
Oh, that's
That's
like
a hard pull, bud.
That's like, oh, bud, you know what? That old Schecter Nick Johnson of mine that I love, jeez. We only found out after 2 years of having that guitar that has had coil split, because, man,
It's a hard pull.
why? Oh, it's so hard. You don't want to
That's
mess around with that there, bud.
That's why on Derek's I did the push.
Yeah.
That's way
Oh no,
smarter.
there's no reason to have it on a guitar like that. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
zero
especially-
reason that guitar should have that.
When it's recessed as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I like about the Custom 24 more than like a 22 is that it pushes the neck pickup closer to the bridge pickup.
Okay.
Right. So the extended fretboard pushes this way.
You get
like
a little more top end of the neck pickup. Yeah, it's nice.
I think that's if I have a complaint about Les Pauls, it's that the neck pickup can be a little bit too muddy.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you want to talk about like a super underwound bright, the problem with a super underwound bright pickup, I think in a neck pickup is a little bit more useful to me. The problem is that if you want to do underwound, you need to do a little bit more of a powerful magnet, which pushes that pickup to be a little bit more higher output. Whereas the neck pickups are usually higher output than your bridge pickups. If they were both mounted to the same DC resistance and the same magnets, your neck pickup's going to have a little more just because that's where the string is moving around more. But yeah, if I did like a set of Alnico 5 like PAF pickups, I would wind like an 8K and like a 7.2, which I think is actually almost exactly what that Les Paul is. A 7.2 in the neck and an 8K in the bridge with enamel. But if you want to get nerdy about pickup wire.
I just realized that this guitar was set up for a half step down, so as I'm trying to tune
Is your bridge
it up,
going
the
up?
bridge is just going...
Yeah,
So-
it's going, no.
Your other guitars
No.
do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I just...
You can play it a half step down.
No, I know I could,
cable
but
one.
now I've put it into like...
Now
Part-
it's in between.
Yeah.
I'll fix
And
it
now,
after.
now it's just gonna go live right here. Like, do you like these?
TJ, let me.
This
grab-
looks dumb to me. Luke,
Here,
this
let
would
me
look
grab
better
your
if it
PRS
came all the
there.
way up. Let's have a vote.
agree.
No.
Who thinks that the silver
I'll grab
burst
your
should come
PRS.
all the way up?
No. There are silver bursts that do that though. They're ugly, but
I'm trying to buy
They
a
make
birth
them.
year guitar. So I was born in 1980. Oh yeah, should we talk about my birthday?
Oh, sure.
Your birthday?
Sure. What do you think?
Yeah.
So next week, Gear and Beer is on my birthday. So
What are you doing?
I'm gonna come here and do Gear and Beer, and like much probably to the disappointment of my children.
On
but-
your birthday, bud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bud. Just
Oh,
come
yeah,
over-
bud.
Come
You do
over
the
and
Gear
have
and
a
Beer on the
couple of-
birthday.
Exactly. A couple of wobbly pops. So
Gear and beer.
How many years?
43.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
You're good.
I know. I got at least two more.
Why am I not getting
2 or 3 more left in me.
What's going on now?
What'd you do back there?
I don't know what I did.
So, to celebrate, we found some B stock pedals. So we're gonna give away
It's on
some.
your end.
We're gonna
It's
give
your
away
end.
some birthday presents to other people
Oh.
on the next Gear and Beer. So you know what? You guys have to be here next week for sure to hang out and celebrate. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here for on it. To be honest, I might dip out during part of it. But-
Derek's 40 is the new 20.
Yeah, 40 is the new 20. You're giving, yeah. Actually, I have friends that like they're 50 playing in rock bands in Nashville, and it is very much like 40 is the new 20 that they're.
I mean, I work for a guy who's 70.
This has the Alnicos, right? Or the PAFs. It's weird because I'm getting, like, I'm seeing this on the tuner, but I'm not getting anything at all.
How old is?
Oh, now it's going. What the hell?
How old is?
72,
That is
71.
Oh, it's that cable.
That is impressive.
There we go.
Like
Yeah.
shirt off every show. 71.
Yeah,
years old.
baby.
Like
Yeah, take
is-
that shirt off.
That is impressive.
Who is?
Paul.
72?
Yeah, he's 71, 72. Gene's 72 or 73.
That is really impressive.
That's crazy. They're still doing that, like to the level they are.
What's the?
With the boots,
Yeah.
8-inch heels.
Yeah. What's your craziest gig story?
Oh, I had one prepared. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Some people might know this. I'm not going to name any names because it might be a little bit long too, but I'll try and make it short. People ask me what my craziest gig story is, and I usually tell them this story, and they're like, that's the weirdest thing that's ever happened. We were doing a gig in Calgary. Apologies to anybody who is
I like
watching
how
this that
anywhere in the world that you've gone and it's Calgary.
Yeah. Craziest gig was in. I mean, there's lots of crazy stories, but one is in Calgary. So we did a gig in Calgary.
Airdrie. Let's just say it's Airdrie.
It was at some sort of club. So
Yeah.
we after the gig we have some drinks. I was tour manager for the act and monitors and guitar tech, and so it was. Somebody watching the stream that commented earlier might know this story. We went out for drinks, and I stuck the guitar players together. We were sharing rooms. Me and the front of house guy were together. The artist was by himself, and I stuck the rhythm section together.
Yep.
So everybody gets a little bit inebriated. We wake up the next morning, and the drummer pulls me aside, and he goes, "Hey, have you seen the bass player?" And I go, "No. Why? What's going on?" And he continues to describe a situation where the bass player in the middle of the night, the drummer was woken up by the sound of a fart, and the bass player was in between the two beds urinating on the table in between the two beds. All right. So he's sitting
So
there.
he was letting the pressure out.
Letting
and
the
he
pressure
farted
out.
and woke the guy up.
He woke the guy up. The guy was like, "What's going on?" He goes into the bathroom, like kind of hides, whatever. Goes back to bed. Wakes up the next morning, realizes that what he had thought happened actually happened, and his MacBook was on the side table. Ruined the MacBook. Anyway, so he's like, "Have you seen him?" And I was like, "No, I have not seen the bass player." So I go up to the room to see if he's there, and he's not there. In the meantime, we had crossed paths, whether he took the stairs or a different elevator. We go into the transport. I guess it was a rental car. I drop them off at the terminal at the airport because we were flying to Cavendish. We were flying to Cavendish. So Calgary to Cavendish back to back. No, there's a day off in between because it was a travel day. So I drop them off at the terminal. I go to return the rental car. In the meantime, I get a phone call from the bass player, and he goes, "Do you have my basses?" And I'm like, "No, like I dumped you off. Everybody gear." He was like, "I don't have them." I was like, "Okay, cool. Where'd you leave them?" He's like, "I think I left them in lockup at the hotel." So I was like, "Okay." So I return the car. I say to the guy at the rental car, I said, "Hey, can you drive me to the hotel? I think I left something." He's like, "No problem." So I jump back in, go. Of course, the basses are in lockup. Hey, shh. Steven, tell me if I'm wrong on any of this. Oh, Carl. Oh, geez.
Carl's the bass player.
Carl, not a bass player. Anyway, so I drop. Everybody goes through. Bass player's waiting. Carl also knows. Bass player's waiting on the side. I go to the hotel, pick up the basses, come back. Me and the bass player walking through security, and he's stressed, and he's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, like we're flying." We're flying. I had some like trouble with my eyes. Let me know. I said, "Are you okay to fly? Are you cleared?" And he's like, "Yeah, I should be okay." I was like, "Call your optometrist, double check and make sure." Whatever. So we go through security. I asked him. I said, "Has anybody talked to you about last night?" And he goes, "No." And I went, "Oh, okay. You're gonna want as soon as we get to the artist to talk to the artist." And he goes, "Oh, why?" And I go ahead and tell him the story that I heard from the drummer. And so now he's like double stressed. Because he had done something dumb. Double stressed. We get into the airport. The artist and him talk. Fly to Montreal. Fly to Cavendish. Sorry, man. I got to tell the story. So in Montreal, he's completely silent. We get to Cavendish. He was like, "I'm going to get a ride in with somebody I know." So a tour bus picks us up in Charlottetown to drive out to Cavendish, which is 45 minutes, an hour drive to Cavendish, something like that. Have you done it, Sam?
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's like 45 to an hour, depending on.
Yeah. So Dave Horn picks us up and
Always Dave Horn.
yeah.
Yeah.
He picks us up. We start driving.
The Horns and PEI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we start going, and I get a phone call from said bass player, and he's like, "Hey, there's a problem." And I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Overnight, I just started seeing like black." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What's your deal?" So he's like, "I'm on my way to emerge." So he goes to the emergency room. They basically say, I get a phone call. He's like, they have to airlift me to Halifax for emergency retina surgery. His retina from whatever, air pressure, stress, whatever it was. His retina detached. So we're in the tour bus, and I look back to the artist, and I'm like, "Hey, by the way, there's no bass player at the show today." And he goes, "What?" And so we land. We're like, "What are we gonna do?" So I said, "We have all of his gear in the thing. I'll play the show." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah. Just give me and the MD will get together. We'll learn the songs. I'll play the show. I'll put it on my iPad. We'll just rock it out. You'll make your money." I think at the time we tried to find backup bass players. We tried to find somebody there that would have played the show. Everybody was like not having it.
Yeah.
So we get up, and the manager was there. Manager all of a sudden is playing TM. I'm learning the songs. Go ahead and learn all the songs, and play the show, and fly home. And the bass player was stuck there for about 2 weeks after his retina surgery. So that's probably the weirdest, wildest tour story of like the most weirdest things happening.
Like sequentially.
Sequentially.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it.
Nice.
Nobody died.
No, you did give away who it is.
Did I?
Well, to me.
I bet you don't. I bet you still don't know, which is great. But these two boys will know who it is.
No, I know who the bass player is.
Well, anyway.
Maybe.
The bass players are the newfies of music, which is very interesting because I think this bass player may have been a newfie. What was that? Was that a subtle nod? So yeah, that was a great. I'm trying to think of other. I've been motherfucked a lot during like gigs for just being on the wrong end of somebody's anger.
Oh,
but
yeah?
It's not usually my fault. But like, middle of a loadout, just getting screamed at while trying to talk to a forklift driver that's like doesn't speak English, trying to load a truck, and somebody's like here just like yelling motherfucking you all the day. But it's like, that happens. But
By like crew,
Not in
like
Canada.
your crew people, or
production managers, yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
why? Just mad about something?
Yeah.
They have a lot on their
just
plate.
mad about something.
Yeah.
Whose guitar was this?
Dorian's buddy.
Dorian, I'm gonna have to set up your guitar, or Dorian's buddy.
Oh no, he said it needs a setup real bad, and I told him, he's like, do you have time to set it up today? And I was like, no, I do not.
Oh, that's a nice Les Paul.
It's not bad. I traded an amp for it. Like a guy wanted a generator for it, and I got it to flex on Luke because he loves Tool and he loves Adam
Oh,
Jones, and
yeah.
I was like,
That's
I'm
a
like,
little bit darker than a regular Silverburst, is it not?
Yeah, it's like an aged one,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit yellowed
So
in a way.
get this, Gibson just released a different burst that you're gonna hate this. So the way that your burst goes all the way up to like the neck pickup, and then it goes out and it goes all the way around.
Yep.
Imagine if the burst was cut off right here.
here?
Yeah. And the whole back was the actual color. Gibson just released a burst that looked like that. I don't remember what it's called. It's
Okay.
ugly.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
can
just
maybe
my
search
opinion.
it up.
How many times do I tell you don't screw up my coffee order?
You said Gibson ugly burst?
Oh yeah.
It sounds like a Les Paul.
It does.
What does?
This. Well,
Oh.
no, that does too. Like,
Ooh, that's a.
what do you think about the whole grainy thing? Do you like Les Pauls? Like, or are you kind of on the fence?
No. Why? What's the question?
What do you think about the whole greeny?
Oh, okay. So I think that it's, yeah, I think it's a little bit over emphasized. Obviously, the Gibson marketing is really pushing the whole greeny Les Paul because they're releasing it. But like the whole neck pickup, reverse polarity on the magnet by accident thing, it's a thing. Would people use it? I mean, when you use the Les Paul, do you use the middle position?
No,
Never.
never.
So, I mean, it would work for something like...
Ask me if I use the neck position on the Les Paul.
You don't do the... What is it?
Oh. I mean,
Isn't that the...
I would probably still do it on the bridge pickup. Like,
Isn't that like the quintessential... It's...
I would probably still be like,
yeah.
yeah.
I have better stories than... Oh, that's my sister. How did she get here? Can you remove somebody from a stream?
Just Luke.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
These
baby.
are like,
Yeah, she'd be so pissed. That's the neck pickup test riff. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, this so the very first gig I did with Paul was in South America. No, it was in It was in Chile, in Santiago. We were in an
Sounded
arena,
like muted again. Just
and I
so
went
you know.
and talked. When you're filling in a guitar as a guitar tech, which that was I started as a fill-in guitar tech with Paul.
Yep.
And then was supposed to move over and stage manage Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and then I ended up getting asked to stick around as guitar tech for Paul. And I said, yeah, of course. Good
choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's Paul. So I went in the very first gig, and as like a regular fill-in guitar tech, you'd be like, set list in hand. All right, cool. What guitar do you want to play where?
Yep.
And long story short, he basically said, I don't care, just hand me whatever guitar. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
And I was like, cool. But I accidentally called the guitar an Iceman.
Okay.
And his response was, it's not an Iceman. And I was like, what is it then? I'm confused.
Yeah.
So an Iceman is a typical set neck, whereas the PS models were a neck through with a maple cap with wings
Okay.
on it. So the actual design of the guitar was just that little bit different, and 3 controls instead of 4.
Okay.
Volume, tone instead of this, and also the old Gibraltar harmonica style bridge,
Okay.
and this tailpiece. And he was very adamant that it was not an Iceman. He
Nice.
goes, not an Iceman. And I was like, I will never call it an Iceman again. So now every time I say it comes out, and I have to stop myself and be like, PS 10, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're comfortable. I mean, I'm used to them now. I play them lots.
Yeah.
But the problem that I have is that I'm a guitar player that will use a neck pickup.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't. He just uses straight bridge pickup. To the
Oh
volume.
yeah. So you can't.
So I can't dial it down. So like the Paul Stanley tone is just like full on
Yeah.
all the time. And then if you that's it. But
And you said he's got a 59.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paul's got it. So the 59 burst that he has, I think, what was it? He got it from Bonamassa and he traded a Carina V, I think, is the story on it.
Okay. Is it nice?
Yeah, it's a nice guitar.
Yeah.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a coffee table book called The Burst. I think
Okay.
that came out. I don't know. It's a super
Yep.
famous. I think Gibson released it. But the guitar on the cover of that was Paul's at one point, and I
Nice.
think he sold it to whoever. But,
I've played a 58. That was the best guitar I've ever played.
oh, really? Yeah. So what do you? I mean, so PAFs. If you don't know, so like Fender pickups were all wound by hand
Yep.
in the like 50s into the 60s. Different magnets, different wire and stuff. But all of the PAFs were all wound with a machine.
Yep.
So that's like the Lisona, whatever it is, Lisona S1 or N1 or whatever. They're wound by machine, but they would continually wind, and somebody would walk away from it, and all of a sudden, like, they just wind it until the bobbin's full, and then they pull it off. So you might get some with offset coils, right? You might get some that had like the neck pickup and the bridge pickup technically would have been better if they were flipped, because some were like, the 7.4 was in the bridge and the 8K was in the neck, because they were just like, they would just wind them and they just put them in a guitar.
Right.
So like part of me winding pickups when I do it, I bought a CNC winder.
Yep.
So you can program how many turns per layer is on a pickup. And what that means, if you want to get into it, like if your bobbin is, one of these bobbins is spinning on the machine, how many turns is it from left to right?
Right.
So if it's like,
Right.
if you're using, depending on the gauge of wire, it could take up to 120,
Right.
which that means that they're literally, the windings are laying right beside each other.
Yep.
And if you wind a pickup like that, it inherently bleeds off some top end because it loses some high frequencies, bleed off in between the wires.
Okay.
So that's why scatter wound pickups, people would say scatter wound or hand wound, they're very imperfect. They're not laying beside each other. So like
Right.
there's more room in between.
Yep.
So the Lisona, and I took a video of like an old Lisona machine and slowed it down that somebody had put in a counter, and the Lisona wound to about 54 to 56 turns per layer.
Okay.
So then on my pickups, on the other Les Paul,
Yep.
that's my PAF
Okay.
that I put in those. And I programmed my CNC to do exactly 56 turns per layer of enamel wire, plus use all the materials. So I'm not saying that it's close, but you're able to get it much closer than a hand wound pickup.
Yep.
That's the thing about PAFs is that like they're always which ones were good, which ones were bad, because there was definitely those. If you get too much of an offset, you'll get some buzzing, right? Because if you get a coil that's 4K and you get a coil that's 4.3K, it might have a little bit of buzz. Or if the offset is even more, you'll get more of a buzz in the humbucker because it's not perfectly hum canceling. So winding like a PAF, doing the research into like what makes an actual PAF sound like a PAF, or how was it made back in the day, or like the way they laid the wire, the lead wire inside. It's all I got really, really, really nerdy over COVID on trying to produce the perfect PAF, and then hook it up to an oscilloscope, and that's why I got these from this guy in Regina, those PAFs, so I could hook it up to an oscilloscope, see what the resonant peak of those are, plug them in, listen to it, and try and make a pickup that sounds like those pickups, right? But that's the science behind the PAFs. Now, the one that you played, the 58, would have been much the same as the 59s as far as the PAFs concerned, because they changed them just after that. They went from PAF stickers to the patent stickers.
Yeah.
Did you notice the pickups were good? Was their guitar mojo? Was it inspiring?
All of the above.
All of the above.
Like the thing that struck me the most was that I've never had a guitar like that when I just play a clean note and hold on to it, that it would just naturally sustain to a harmonic note.
Oh, interesting.
Anywhere you played on the neck.
On what amp?
That super reverb right behind you.
Oh.
A dead nuts clean amp.
Yeah, it would just
Not crazy
resonate.
loud. Like the amp wasn't crazy loud, but it just had that, and it had like what felt like infinite sustain, because it would just sustain, almost like you were using an Ebo.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy, and the setup was unbelievable.
Yeah,
it
was.
played
Where'd you play it?
In Nashville.
Yeah.
You know Tom Bukovac?
No.
Okay.
I'd love to meet him though if he's got a 58.
Yes.
Paul just inherited a 52, which was
Holds up.
originally a single P90, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a company that the guy that he got it from put in a couple of humbuckers, and I think I'm going to get to play it when we go down for rehearsal. I think I'm going to get all that.
Was it trapeze bridge too originally?
Yes, but
Yeah.
they retrofitted it to pneumatic. Somebody asked the tonal difference between the different types of pickup wire for winding. So if you want to get a little bit more nerdy, there's different types of wire gauges. So 42 is all your standard low wind stuff. 43 is like custom fives, anything in like the 12 to 16K range. And then if you get higher than that, you're generally using a 44 gauge wire, so much thinner. But the coating on it changes. So the coating on it is like a poly coating. You got a form bar coating and an enamel coating. And each coating is a little bit different. People say, and this is all just like what I've learned from winding pickups and listening to them, is that people say the coating doesn't make that much of a difference. The double build, which is the form bar, the coating is actually double thick. So if you could think of, if you're winding a pickup and all your layers are nice close together, if you're double build on the insulation, they're just that much farther apart from the actual wire. So it retains a lot more of the high-end frequencies on a double build wire. The problem being that you can't fit as much coil wire on the coil. So you have to go either lower wound or go a thinner wire gauge to get the proper. Enamel is a little bit thinner than poly. In my experience winding pickups, the poly has a little bit more of a bite in the upper mid. In my experience, the enamel is what generally the older style. I think Fender in the 60s did an enamel. Gibson on all the PAFs would have been a plain enamel wire. It's a little bit of a thinner coating. I think it sweetens, it takes that high mid out. I would love somebody with an ear. I hear Sean's got the best ear out of
It's insane. It's
Sean
absurd.
and Dan.
Yeah.
Like
Sean and Dan both.
Yeah.
I would love to just like wind a pickup, give it to them, say, what does this sound like? And then change something on it. And see if they can, and obviously like you plug it into an oscilloscope and you can see where the resonant peak changes. So like on a poly or a heavy form var versus an enamel, the high end bleed, it affects it. But also the resistance of that coil is also different at that point too, because the different coatings changes the DC resistance. So if you wind 5,000 winds of poly versus 5,000 winds of plain enamel, your DC resistance is gonna change just ever so slightly, as long as your tension is the same and if it's machine wound, right?
Right.
Foreign var is gonna be brighter. Poly is gonna have this interesting upper mid bite, and then enamel is gonna be like this nice sweetened high end.
Yep.
With a little bit of a warmer low end. Poly is gonna have a more punchy low end. Foreign var obviously even more, but knowing stuff like that and then changing, like, you know, if you're doing some gent stuff, you obviously want to have something with a nice tight low end.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't want the high end to be screaming hot either.
Yep.
So you have to kind of work around it. Also, the pickup magnet changes the sound of the pickup, but that won't show up on an oscilloscope necessarily. So that's how each wire changes. This makes me want to get so nerdy into pickup making. Oh, dude, don't even. Don't even. I could probably talk somebody to sleep. Do you know Simon Fisk from Calgary? He does plunge.
Yeah.
Talking to Simon about in-ears
Yep.
is the most amazing thing ever, because he is as passionate as that as I am about guitars and pickups.
Yeah.
And like just talking to somebody, and I'm like, I get some of it because like it's much the same. They take the thing, they put it into a microphone. The microphone, they feed a frequency sweep through the in-ears. The microphone picks up what output, and then they can adjust based on what the, I guess the frequency sweep that they have, and which one is this driver producing more in the 4K range or in the 6K range, and then they can dial it in, change the drivers or whatever. The pickups are the same way. You wind a pickup, you put it into an oscilloscope, you see what frequency it's producing the most efficiently, and that's your resonant peak. And then if you change something on it, let's say you change the magnet, which introduces more iron, it increases the inductance, and it drops down that resonant peak from 4K to 3.5 or whatever. Now your pickup's a little bit darker, but what did that do overall? But having somebody with like a really, really great ear to be like, oh, I can tell that this pickup is like this rather than like this is like super amazing.
I bet you both Sean and Dan can do that, because there's this thing they did at Henning Pauli over in Germany. Did this thing called 42 Gear Street.
Yeah.
And this,
remember this.
YouTuber Jay Leonard J, who's out of Vancouver, decided what he was going to do is there's like 5 amp companies there. So
And it was like the designers of those.
it was the
amps, too.
designers. So like Dave Friedman was there, and Dan was there, and
Guy from Blue Guitar was there.
yeah,
Angle
Thomas
guy
Blue.
was there.
One of the Angle guys, I think, was there.
Yeah.
So what Jay decided to do is he wanted to do a blind test to all the amp designers to see if, first off, could they pick out their own amp
Right.
in a blind test, and second off, which amp did they think sounded the best, right?
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because
Did they videotape it?
Oh, it's on
there's
YouTube.
a video
It's
on
a full
YouTube.
video.
Oh, I want to
Yeah.
watch
Yeah,
it.
it's
yeah.
great.
So Dan is just like deadpan, like,
If you know Dan, it's like the classic.
Yeah, he's
Just
like-
yeah.
number 2 is my amp. And Dan was the only one who got his own amp.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's crazy.
he's like, how did you know? He's like, it's the sound in my head. Like, he's like I made it.
And it was funny
And,
because
like,
Dan also picked his amp as the favorite amp.
He
They're like, why
picks
did you do that? He's like, because that's why I made it that way.
That's because it's my amp. Like, it's the sound in my head.
Best excuse ever.
It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like Friedman picked our amp, like and like full disclosure, like if I had to do it, I couldn't tell you. Like I can identify most of the amps on the wall because I've played them enough to be able to go like, okay, I know what a Friedman
On the
feels
spot,
like.
that's
It sounds
fine.
like on the spot.
Yeah.
But like if you put the generator on channel 2 and you dial the Friedman a certain way, I'm gonna be hard pressed. Especially if I'm listening, if I'm not able to play it.
Yeah.
If I'm able to play it, like, then maybe
You
if
can
you're
feel what it's doing.
If you're playing it, you know.
Yeah.
It's
You'll be able
amazing
to
how
fool me.
how much the feel of a guitar.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And the compression from the amp, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a big difference. Like there's this huge sag in a Friedman, right? That is like the most gratifying thing because I'm used to Marshalls mostly being pretty stiff, right?
Yeah.
Still sound great, but stiff. So you get this thing where it's like, oh, it does the Marshall thing, but with more, and it feels like butter while I'm doing it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but if it was just like, hey, which one is this one?
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
It's the distortion one.
I think
It's the high gain ones.
I can, if I hear them back to back, I can pick out which one has, like if one is brighter than the other.
Yes.
Which is like, you're pretty, but like if somebody said, is this Alnico 5 or an Alnico 6 magnet, I would be hard pressed to figure out. Now, if it was like a neodymium versus Alnico 2, I might be able to pick out which one of those is, but also too, there's also different stuff in the recipe.
If it was a Neo speaker
yeah.
versus any other speaker.
Could you tell?
You can tell.
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've played enough Neo speakers.
What do you think the difference
That's
is?
probably for a reason.
I mean, well, Neo's lighter, so do they use the same material? Like the same amount of material? Do they use less?
No,
No,
it's
it's-
tiny. They're meant to be lightweight.
Oh yeah, so then I mean, if you're going by the same mindset of a pickup, a Neo driver would be a lot brighter and harsher than what an Alnico driver would be.
Yeah, same.
So
Yeah.
when we were designing this, we tried the
Neo
Celestia
drivers?
Neo Creamback. And like I desperately wanted to use Neo Creamback, and I wanted to do a pine box.
Right.
Because I was like,
Super
let's make
lightweight.
this super lightweight. Which we may have it that like you can buy a like you could buy it that way if you want, right? Maybe not the pine box, because pine in Manitoba is not an easy thing to deal with
Right.
or find. So but the Neo Creamback, it's just the top end is so brittle
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
harsh that I was just like, it's like I can't, like, a good YouTuber friend of ours, Keith from 5 Watt World, was just like, I just want you to build, like, I just want you to do it in a pine box. Mojo Tone does a pine box with a Neo Creamback. I bought one of them to try it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sold.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what we originally tried. Like that one there that says Dynamis D25 on it, I'm
Yep.
pretty sure is the pine box with that it had the Neo Cream in it before.
Yeah.
And yeah,
We tried a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
we tried like 10 or 12 different drivers. And
Probably. And yeah, we definitely wanted to try to do like as lightweight of a thing.
yeah.
What?
And then
Was
we
that
were
wrong?
like,
Oh, I didn't actually touch it that time. That's funny. I think we were trying to achieve like as lightweight as we could without tonal compromise, basically.
So when you built it, did you know that you wanted the specific box before you did the driver, or did the driver come before the box?
would you like to know my theory on cabinetry
Sure.
design? Does it fit the speaker?
Yeah. So I guess
Does it work?
to that end, could you have done a Neo Creamback but done a different enclosure that
It wouldn't fix
was a little
it.
bit warmer?
Nope.
Gotcha.
I don't think, because we tried it.
Yeah, we did.
We tried it in the closed back versions of the 1x12 cabinets to test them, which would give you
Did it make it warmer?
Not really.
not
Oh,
really.
interesting.
And like, I would expect more bottom end because it's closed back,
Right.
and it was, if there was
still-
more, it was not enough.
Gotcha.
So
That's fair.
yeah,
There's some. I mean, Alnico drivers are just. Alnico drivers are like old Vox did like
Yeah.
lots of the
the El Nico
Alnico
Blues.
drivers. Yeah, exactly.
Sourcing the pine isn't as big of an issue. It's the climate change in
That's
Manitoba,
right. I remember
Saskatchewan
you
that
saying-
like it shrinks and expands so badly. And in order to use pine, you would have to use like some sort of finger joint or box joint. Because if you try to do like a dado and a rabbit, like everything else that everybody does,
Yeah.
it would just split.
Yeah.
Right?
wouldn't
So there's no strength to it. So the problem is that you can feel those joints
ridges.
during different seasons.
Yeah.
And there's just like, I guess if we lacquered it somehow, maybe you could find a way to stop it, but I doubt it.
Yeah. It doesn't.
It's funny, like even if you look at the shelves that we have out there,
Oh yeah.
they're all just like bowed
plywood
now.
that just, like-
just from being in the shop. Like
Are you saying that the prairies are dry?
It's well, I'm saying we have 4 very distinct seasons.
Yeah.
I loved explaining that to like people who are buying their first guitar, and then they're like, I was like, yeah, the laminate guitar is cheaper, but it doesn't sound as good. And like, yeah, you can buy a wood guitar, but you got to buy the humidifier and this and this and this. They're like, why would I spend more money on that?
Yeah.
From like a consumer perspective, it's like,
Jake got so mad at me, his dad, because I've got a couple of Taylors, and I've never humidified my guitars. So one winter, I opened up my Taylor 814, and I'm like, hey, my Visa could slip right through this top. And I was like, that's not good. And I took it to him. He's like,
What'd
Derek,
you do?
is there a humidifier in your guitar room? I'm like, no. Do you have all your guitars hung on the wall? I'm like, yeah. Looks great.
I literally warned TJ. TJ went to grab on the wall. I'm like, okay, so
Let's have a
fair
chat
warning
about
before you grab anything on the wall.
Yeah.
Let's have a
This
quick
is
chat.
what's up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Not the best,
Yeah.
you know.
Russ is
but,
from Regina.
Yeah.
I
But
believe.
yeah. Can I get the D25 with the tape already on the cloth? Sure. We can put some nice pink gaff on there for you.
We'll place the mic for you.
That's what we should do. We should get Paul Yee to come down and test mic everything with a 57. And here you
And
go.
spike it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiss questions?
Yeah.
Anything?
What else do we want to know? We had on our list, is there any sort of tool that you use as a tech that you could not survive without?
Excluding tuner.
Yeah. A string height gauge. There's
Oh, yeah.
no way that I could. So when I started working in the Kiss camp, part of what I did, I got called to do this fill-in. I went down to LA to do the prep, and the first thing that I did was I opened up every single guitar case of the touring guitars, and I took relief measurements and string height measurements because I have no idea how this artist wants the guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, dude, I tech for a lefty.
Yeah.
I can't play his
That's
guitars. Like that's literally how I survive with Savard stuff. Is like when it's set up great, it's like it feels good. Measure everything.
Measure everything,
Make sure
yeah.
it stays there. That's literally it.
So long story short, the reliefs were all within 4,000ths of each other. So like, if you want to know exact set of specs, he likes his necks pretty flat. So I had necks that were at like 2,000ths and necks that were like 6,000ths. So I said 4,000ths is going to be my benchmark to hit. Obviously, you're going to have a fluctuation out every guitar if you're touring. And then your string height, the treble side was just under 2/32, and the bass side was right at 2/32 for string height, measured at the 12th fret. But without knowing what those measurements were, I could have gone in blind. I don't know if the old tech. I think the old tech might have done it mostly by feel because there was some movement, but also some of those guitars were played later, some of them were earlier. But yeah, a string height gauge is like, there's when people set up guitars and they grab the guitar and they go, okay, now I know that this needs to go up. But if I, right?
It's something else.
Oh,
Sorry.
if I know that
Yeah, sure.
if I know that my relief is set properly and I know that my saddle height is set properly, an average guitar should be able to play every note clean.
Right.
But if you know what those setup specs are, and then of course you can lower it or raise it according to whatever the player wants. But like, also your frets need to be if you're doing 4,000ths of relief or less, and you're under 2/32 on either one of those measurements, your frets need to be pretty level.
Right.
Any small little high or low, and you're going to get some weird buzzing and stuff like that. But
Yeah. How did you like the new finishes that Marty Bell did for Paul?
So I think Marty is the sparkle guy at the Ibanez Custom Shop, if I'm not mistaken. So what we did for the 50th anniversary, we smash a guitar at every show.
Yep.
And then they sell them at a sale. We did a gold sparkle finish for the 50th anniversary. So we did a gold sparkle. What Ibanez ended up doing is they ended up using a drum wrap, and they inlaid it, and then they poured epoxy over top.
Yep.
Which was really weird because I asked for the biggest flake that can be shot with a gun, and they ended up doing the biggest flake, but it was a wrap, which made it extra big and a lot more square. Now it still looks good, but Marty, Marty is the sparkle guy at the Ibanez Custom Shop.
Go Oilers.
Marty, his job was to try and match that sparkle.
Yeah.
But Marty definitely shot the biggest flake. And I think if you go to my Instagram at Prairie Guitars, I posted the gold P10 that Marty did. And he did a great job. And it's got like this cool amber, this old amber look to it. And the guitars are great. Fret crown tool. I use,
Files.
depending on, what's that?
Files.
I'm a tool nerd too. Like, part of me is like, the best tool for the job is the closest one at the time.
Right.
Like, if I need a hammer and there's no hammer near me, I'm going to use something else as a hammer rather than looking for a hammer.
Right.
But if I'm in my shop fixing guitars, I've got so many and I'm the tool nerd. And my fret crown, I've got a Crimson Guitars safe edged triangle file that I use if like I'm taking a lot of material off and like you've got this really flat spot on the fret just to take off lots of the material quickly.
Yep.
And then the StewMag Z file, which is I think they do an offset Z file and they do a centered Z file. I use the offset StewMag Diamond Z file. Is that the right answer?
I don't know. Whatever Sam's dad uses to fix my guitars when they suck. Or whatever you used when you did that guitar.
Yeah, I mean,
do you know my buddy Nathan? He was the other guitar tech with Dallas on that tour, but he's
Nathan McMurdo?
Yeah, McMurdo.
McMurdo.
He's done like he's doing Nickelback now. Like subbing in for them, and doing some other stuff. But he's also like a massive tool nerd, and like will just make his own tools. If he doesn't have a tool to do it, he'll just like make it, and then he has something that does that
that's
job
like
for him.
that's the Luthier way. Is like, how do I do this job, and how do I make a jig to make it easier so I can replicate it again and again and again? And you just literally make whatever you're.
He's all about that.
Yeah.
It was great having him on tour because he's like a real. It was funny because it was the first like tour he'd ever done as a tech. So like. He brought his whole workbench, which is, as you know, is like, But it was funny because that was the only tour I think I've ever been on where he actually needed all of that stuff. Like, Jer had two guitars just complete. Well, he's working for Jer, and Jer's gear just explodes all the time, no matter what. So
part of, I mean, that's I'm not going to say that's Canadian touring, but like in a perfect world, in a perfect world, you have so many backups for your backups that there's no need to ever redo an entire guitar on the fly. I guess is my mindset. But at the same time, like you should have enough to get what you. I have that Pelican 1650 that I rolled in. That's pretty much my toolbox. That has my toolbox in it, and it's got like my rain gear and my high vis. I don't have a hard hat in there because I'm a backline guy, and you don't. Chances are, if somebody's rigging, backline's not in yet.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, I'm out in 15 or 30 minutes.
Yes.
But yeah,
I had so many arguments about like wearing hard hats as a rigger. Same with steel toes. Like
if you're in the roof, what?
Yeah, because like health and safety shows up and they're like, you need to be wearing steels. I'm like, nah, nope. And they're like, yeah, otherwise you're not allowed on site. I'm like, cool, nope.
That's funny.
Yeah,
we get yelled at often by our stage manager, and I've had it a couple times where like you go into a New York house and the OHS guy is there and he's walking around stepping on people's toes to make sure that, and there's been, roadies are the most, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not gonna conform to what you want to do.
No.
They know what's best always.
Yeah. You can't walk in and be like, hey, you can't work if you're not wearing a hard hat. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
So do I get to go back on the bus?
Yeah.
Is that the plan?
I'm not gonna say what he said, but I just remember like, there was this guy Lee who was teching for Dean Brody. I don't know if you know Lee. He worked for Blue Rodeo. For a while. Yeah. Lee just like he walks into the site. The guy's like, "You can't be in here without a hard hat." And I'm not gonna tell him what Lee said back to me. If you know Lee, just like said this one line, and like literally everyone in the room just burst out laughing. And it was like, no, it's not stream appropriate. But it was just so funny. He's like, no, you are not telling me what to do.
Lee was the first. So like, I started out locally doing Blue Rodeo and Jim Cuddy, and Lee was always there. So he was like the first co-guitar tech that I had ever worked with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of those crusty old dudes.
But once you get to know him, he's so great.
Absolutely.
But he's like no shit taken whatsoever.
No, old hardened roadie, dude.
Yeah.
Old hardened roadie.
Him and Cowboy. Mike, I don't know if you know Cowboy. Mike Oxman is his name. You know him? He's a super good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know him, but who did he?
He just does Dean, I
Dean?
think. Yeah.
He didn't do the last Dean tour, am I right?
I don't think Lee did the last Dean tour.
No, I think Cowboy had some sort of a health thing that I'm speculating.
No, he might have. It might have been him or his partner or something. I don't know. I think Lee wasn't on a couple as well. But either way, those guys were awesome.
Canadian country.
Those guys are like a good example of that, where it's like you're not telling them what to do.
Michael Berger. Michael Berger is Gene's tech. He's been Gene's tech, I think a couple times. He got fired in South America once because he got way too, like, I guess it's his story to tell, not my story to tell. But every once in a while, you show up to like a hotel where the entire festival is staying, and you end up going down to the lobby, and it gets a little bit out of control. And then your load-in is 6 a.m., and all of a sudden it's 3, and you close down the bar, and you have had way too much to drink, and then you start talking back to people, being a roadie.
Yeah, or you show up to the gig. The amount of times I've done Country Fest slowed out on like Sunday night when the festival's done, that the locals show up, like their whatever local crew they have to load trucks, that I'm like, you can go home, and you can go home, and you can go home. And I'm like, you stop drinking at 11, and we're here at midnight.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, when I build riders for artists, always is like all loaders at the beginning and end of the night must be sober. Yeah. It's just like, it's a hard thing.
That is not followed.
Somebody said, not often.
No.
Depending on who you're doing gigs for, I guess. Are all Canadian roadies techs from the prairies? I mean, between Sam and his dad, I might as well just stop teching and playing guitar. So, yeah.
You better not bring home another guitar. Amy, we met one time at Disney, and we were talking about it, and how that was such a nice time for our families to meet each other. Why do you have to say such hateful things?
Yeah, I think...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, I'll bring home a puppy instead. I was looking at puppies on the way here, honey. Sorry.
Oh, you were talking about, I'm originally from Carmen, Manitoba,
Yeah.
so
we
were
up
talking about that
our
earlier.
bulldog Dexter from Carmen, Manitoba, like probably 12 years ago.
And does it count if I send one of my guitars home for you to do work on? Does that count?
That does not count. That goes straight to my shop. She won't even see it. Nice. I'm going to leave 2 here, though, so
nice.
It's only fair. Bruce Nickel is from Ontario. Great guitar tech.
Heard of Bruce before.
Probably one of the best Canadian guitar techs. I guess, Nathan's from the prairies.
Yeah, Nathan's phenomenal. He's very, very good.
Chris Draper did Rival Sons for a long time. He's who I got the gig from.
James? No, is it James?
Oh, James Welsh. Yeah.
Yep.
James Welsh,
James
also
is
from
great.
Ontario.
Yeah. James is awesome. Yeah.
Oogie?
Hoogie.
Hoogie.
Here's a funny story about Hoogie. The first time I ever ran into Hoogie, I was guitar teching for the Road Hammers, and they needed more guitar picks, and he was the in-tune guy, right? And so I remember emailing him and being like, hey, TJ, working for the Road Hammers, I need some more guitar picks. Let me know how we do this. And I think he motherfucked me, and he told me to go away. There you go.
I hope Hoogie's watching right now to confirm that story.
I'm sure it was a long time ago, and I'm sure he was like on tour with like a
Shine Down or something.
Yeah, some big artists, and he was probably just like,
Oh, yeah?
This is as soon as I took a sip of this, I was like, oh, that tastes like coffee.
Oh, it's funny. Tone Dragon, I work with Nathan with Dallas Smith. Yeah, he's a great dude. Yeah, that's small world. Canada is not that many people compared to what you
there's
imagine.
8 of us.
Yeah. There's one road and 8 people.
That's right. And surprisingly, everybody works together.
Yes. It's very everyone is like kind of looking out for each other, I guess, It's a different community for sure, and I think it's maybe because there's less of us doing it and everyone knows each other.
The industry as a whole, though, like music industry as a whole, is much, much smaller than you think, which is why if you're a shitty worker or an asshole, you will not last.
Yeah, there's so we were in South America, and somebody said this to me. We had a drum tech that came in for a little bit, and he didn't end up working out, so we got gumped back. He said that you have to have at least, I think he said 2 of the strings. You got to be on time, you got to be good at your job, or everybody must like you. And if you don't have like at least 1 or 2 of those 3, you're done.
Yeah.
I think the everyone must like you is the biggest thing for either getting a gig in a band.
Oh yeah.
Or being on tour with a band.
I was gonna say touring because like you have no choice but to be close to the people you're with.
You're on the bus all the time, and if you're a shitty hang,
and the show is
that's it.
1 hour of your day.
Yeah.
Like, and everything that goes into that, like not only workflow wise, but like you're just surrounded by those people all the time. You're in a very close proximity. You have no choice. You have to get along.
But alternatively, if you have somebody that's like always on time, really good at their job, but super introverted, as soon as they go on the bus, they're in their bunk.
Yeah.
They come out on days off, they're in the hotel room, you never see them. that's still acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even if
Totally.
somebody is like, you're willing to put up with a little bit of like, you're a little bit of a pain in the ass, but
There just
if
can't
the
be
artist
weird
loves you and you're
vibes,
on
yeah.
But like somebody who, you get on a bus and like the first thing that somebody does is like take off their socks and put them in the front lounge and like they're like picking their toenails or something like that in front of like, you're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Luke, you taking
Go to your
notes?
bunk.
Okay.
Luke
go.
couldn't even fit in one of those bunks. Luke
No.
is never touring ever.
A bus, we were talking about bus rides.
Do you know
dude.
Bill Girdwood, JBV store manager?
Yeah.
He's
tall.
like
He
he's
did
like
High Valley
7
for a
feet
long
tall.
time. Yeah.
He sleeps in the back lounge on tour because he can't fit in the bunks.
Yeah, Bill. Is he still do JBB?
Yeah.
Right, because it was Moxie and then it switched over to Bill.
Yeah, Bill's a sweet dude. My dad actually knows him from Halifax. They
gotcha.
they kind of group together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
He
great.
wears Hawaiian shirts all the time, doesn't
Hawaiian
he?
shirts and shorts and sandals, no matter the weather.
That's
And
right.
he's like 7 feet tall, and apparently he just sleeps in the back lounge because he can't fit in the bunks.
And his hair looks like Doc from Back to the Future.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, Bill's hilarious.
He's awesome.
I couldn't last on a bus.
No?
Oh, I
No,
love it.
not long.
I love it.
I love
would
it
just-
too.
Yeah, it's the best.
Don't tell Amy, but
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh no,
here.
dude!
You're
It's once you're into the flow, like once you're adjusted and the dynamic is set, like you got your little hole you can go lay in and get space. I love it. It's the best.
Yeah. I'm on bus tours, I'm usually if I'm doing backline, I'll usually like load out and then I'll hang in the venue, but as soon as I'm in the bus, it's like 15-minute hang. As soon as the bus starts rolling, I'm a zombie.
Totally.
I'm
Same.
out.
Well, I could sleep on the bus. Like, I pity Sean. Like, Sean says when he was on tour with Carrie Underwood, he can't sleep on planes, can't sleep on the bus. So he's like,
That
I
sucks.
get no sleep.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
sleep
like,
when the bus is in motion.
Yeah.
When the bus is stopped, I wake up.
Yeah, but and then there's people
Yeah.
that are the flip side. They can't sleep when the bus is moving, but as soon as the bus stops, luckily it's usually like the bass player, and he
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in until like 3 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
So when the bus stops at 6, he's like his
No,
sleeping is from 6.
I pretty much
until
can't
3.
fall asleep until it leaves, and then I wake up as soon as it arrives. So it's always like stay up till bus call, sleep, wake up right when we get there, grab a coffee, load in.
Yeah.
I think I would just get annoyed with not being able to like be like, go away. Like
Yeah.
all of you. Like the bunk being the only place that you have. I'd be like,
I like that,
this isn't
though.
enough.
I don't know. It sounds stupid, but like I don't know. It's kind of special. You just get this little hole. You just like there's literally like if you're on a good bus, you barely hear shit. Like
Yeah.
you're just closed off, just your space.
Yeah.
No one can bother you. Just sleep. It's the best. I also I don't nap ever.
Oh, I love
But on tour I nap like every
Oh,
day.
dude, pre-show bus snaps are like
oh yeah.
I call 'em,
after sound check. Almost always it's like sound check, boom, nap for like half an hour to an hour, wake up, shower, dinner, show.
Yeah.
Go for the night.
Also,
Good.
no bus dumps would be a problem for me, bud.
Yes.
You know what? So the one of the I mean
Do the hot bag,
the hardest thing for me on tour.
Luke.
You want to hear a good hot bag story?
Yes,
I've
of
got a
course.
good one too, but I'm not gonna name bands or people.
I won't do the hardest thing for me on tour is being away from the family. The second hardest thing is like the depression and anxiety of like being away, being stuck on the road, but then also the anxiety of like I just can't go poo whenever I want. What's going on?
Yeah.
here? Yeah. It just doesn't. It doesn't flow. But luckily I'm a zombie. So as soon as the bus starts rolling, I'm up.
Right.
Yeah.
So it ends up working out. But we were in 2019. We were in no man's land between Russia and the Ukraine, which is like
Not a good place to be right now.
not a good place to be right now for sure.
Yeah.
But we were doing a border crossing, and it wasn't on our bus; it was on a different bus. But a crew member was like, "You need to stop the bus. I need to go number 2."
Yeah.
And so the bus driver was like, "But we're in like this weird no man's land, like between the Russian border and the Ukrainian border. There's like a couple miles of just like trenches and weird." And so stops the bus next to this like weird whatever outhouse or something like that. And the guy gets out, and all of a sudden he sees like this dude with an AK walking towards him. He's like, "No, back on the bus." Bus starts rolling. He's like, "I'm doing it," and that's a hot bag story.
Nice.
When you have to.
I have a story of someone who tried to throw a hot bag out the window and the bag broke
Oh no!
and it sprayed all down the side.
Yeah, you got to double. If you're throwing out the window, you got to double bag.
Yeah. Yeah. You also,
Duh.
I also don't understand. It's like, whatever. I'm not gonna get into this. I was gonna say, people make it seem like this big traumatizing thing. It's like there's a toilet that you could position the bag over and still do it normally and just get rid of it. It's not like you have to do it on the floor. Like I don't understand.
Yeah,
I've never, not that I've ever done this, but it's like you don't have to just do it on the floor.
There are artists
know?
that prefer doing that rather than going into the venue.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say who they are. I've worked with a couple of them.
Yeah.
No, not all of them, but I've been lucky enough to work with really great Dallas Green is probably. I don't want to say my favorite because I've worked for lots of really great. Dallas Green is probably like the nicest, best dude
Nice.
I've ever met.
That's good to hear.
And the pals. That's his merch.
Nice.
But yeah, you know Dallas?
I don't.
City and Color?
But I do know City and
Yeah.
Color, but I don't know him personally.
Alexis on Fire. He's like
Alex is on fire. Yeah.
Alex is on fire.
Alex is on fire.
Canadian fame. Yeah, he's the best. Yeah, the absolute best.
Robbie Tim's having IBS. If it were my bus, we'd make a rule that I can go number 2 on the bus.
You
Or I'll
need a
punch you
grinder.
in the shirt.
Yeah. If you're legit and you have a huge budget, you'll get the grinder where you can do that. It's like the toilet mulcher.
Yeah, I've been on a couple buses that have them, but
Yeah.
it was still a
Is it-
it was still a bad. I've been on a bus where somebody has. Actually, it was Kelly's bus, I think. Do you know Kelly?
Like from here?
Portage?
No.
Oh, he has the bus company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he used to drive.
Did he?
Chris.
Was the Doc Walker bus his? I've been on that bus.
Oh, sorry. He was driving
Ruby.
one of Doc.
Yep.
I love that bus.
It
Love to hate that bus.
for Country Fest, like the year that
Yeah.
we were supposed to do it. For whatever reason, there was a mix-up with the rentals. We ended up renting Ruby, and we made it like halfway to Portage la Prairie, and it just
Blew
died. Like it's like
I've-
we're on this side of the road. We didn't end
And-
up getting to Dauphin until like 4 in the morning or something. Like because they had to send like 3 cars to come get us with all our stuff.
I remember.
You were crew on that, and that was at the end of the Dallas tour too.
Yeah.
That was the last day. We had done a big tour, and it was ending in Country Fest, and then that happened.
Ruby, if you're touring with Ruby in the wintertime, she stays warm if she's put, but she's not airtight. So once she starts rolling,
Oh, it's freezing.
oh man, I've been in a skidoo suit in my bunk with ice on the walls.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that does not sound like fun.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Anyway, this was a Dauphin gig where somebody was on the bus and I got up. I was sleeping and I got up and I was like, "Did somebody?" And then everyone was like, "I'm pretty sure somebody." Whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody owned up to it.
No.
Ethan Osland was on the bus.
Oh yeah.
Ethan just subbed for me on a couple of Dallas gigs. Actually.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Ethan's awesome.
Ethan is great.
It was Sam. He snuck onto your bus and
You pooped it
Dropped
on the
the big
bus?
Sorry.
a big old dude.
Yeah. Bro,
Yeah.
you don't poopsies on the bus?
I know some people that shall remain nameless at Country Fest that when an artist has come in and has been very, very shady during
really?
load-in, that I know people who may have gone and pooped in the
Oh,
artist bathrooms
boy.
that they're not allowed to do.
Oh boy.
Nice. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
That was
the
Luke.
Luke.
Last year, Luke got one shot at Country Fest last year, and
Did you go
blew
take
it.
Oh,
No, I didn't.
bad news, buddy.
I did not.
Oh, good for you. At least you know the rule. I've helped out so many I love newbie people just people that never toured before.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh man, yeah. Jacob from Intervals, bass player.
Kaminsky?
Who Kaminsky, yeah, who's like one of the biggest bass players in the world right now, arguably, I guess. But like he literally graduated from university after like living in his dorm and living at home, and then went on tour like before ever living on his own even.
Yep.
And it was like classic thing where like we stop. It was on the first tour we did too was a Canadian tour.
Yeah.
So it's like long drives. So we're like in Alberta somewhere, stop for like a half an hour in this little town. We're like, okay, everyone's good. No bathroom breaks. Great. Good.
Roll.
Like 20 minutes in, Jacob's like, oh no, gotta go to the bathroom. And I don't mind calling him out on this because A, he's not gonna watch this, and B, I just like ripping on him because we're buddies now. It's all good. We were always buddies, but we're buddies, so it's all good. But same thing. It's like, no, dude, like, we're not stopping. go another little bit, and he's like, "We have to stop. This is bad." It's like, all right, you're squatting on the trailer, like bumper dumper, let's go.
Bumper dumper on the A-frame.
Yeah, so literally. So we're like, you got to do it, and we're like, okay. So he pulls over, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna walk over into the grass. We're like, okay. So he takes like 2 steps into the grass and falls like 5 feet into a marsh, and just like ruins all of his clothes and everything. And it was like, okay, so what did we learn?
Yeah.
We're not doing this again.
Just do what you're told.
It was great. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, that's the anxiety part of the touring. But I haven't done a bus tour in a while. Actually, the last bus tour I did was a Christmas tour with the Tenors. Maybe not last year, maybe the year before. Just because like we've been South America. I guess no, we were on a bus for a little bit in Europe last year, but like I could really go for a North American bus run right about now. If I could bring my kids.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
If I had my own bus, I could, but otherwise, yeah. And my lady too, of course.
Yeah. No, just your kids.
She would actually probably appreciate that.
Come help Daddy for a bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna file frets for a little while.
I think I've been on a bus with kids. I was on a bus with a dog multiple times.
We've had tour dogs. Yeah, tour dogs are sweet if they're small. I mean,
This dog was not small.
I like all dogs, but tour dogs are just easy if they're small and they just hang out, not really in the way.
Yeah, and you just sleep on the bottom bunk, and all of a sudden you just got a partner in your bunk.
A little puppy. Yeah,
It's happened.
it's not bad.
It's happened lots.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
What about you? Touring?
Not real touring.
Oh.
No. Band in a van, trailer.
That's as real as it gets, though, man.
Yeah.
Sleeping
that's
on the
what I was
floor
gonna
of
say.
the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like
Dreaming
the
of
heart
a motorhome. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Dreaming of.
It's like when you do van tours with people, like I like to. There's large comparisons between like, you know, being in a theater production. If you were like a theater production mixed with being in the army,
Yes.
and that's what a touring outfit is
Basically,
like, right?
yeah.
Like you're not risking your life, obviously, but in a touring thing, nah.
Let my drummer drive a few times. I'm not joking.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Let's Toby drive.
No. Yeah, that's also really bad, but not as bad as the drummer. The drummer legit almost killed us twice, and then we never let him drive again.
But that's when brotherhoods are made.
Yes.
Or broken.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I luckily, I think I've only ever fought with like one person on a bus. I'm pretty easygoing.
Yeah.
I'm also a ghost, so.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues while we're out. But
Really?
Yeah.
Were you the, I would almost picture you as being like the guy who would make the schedule. Like everybody on the bus, this is what bus call is. We have 6 hours to the next venue.
Yeah, not so much like not organized.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, but more that like
You're the bus mom?
No, I booked all the shows, made sure that everybody knew what they were supposed to do.
Right.
And was, as you might imagine, like in charge of most things
Yeah.
from early on. So
Yeah.
Mostly because I was the one that was like, hey, we should go play in Saskatchewan. Let me find somewhere for us to play in Saskatchewan. And,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lots of, like, I think I almost died outside of Melfort. Was probably the first time.
Yeah, Highway 6 up there?
I think so. We were coming out of
Yeah.
Melfort, Saskatchewan at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Going towards PA, going towards Regina?
Going to Saskatoon.
Okay, so yeah, you're heading west.
Yep. And we were supposed to turn onto the highway. And our drummer is like, we're in like a shitty old Ford Econoline E350. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat while he's driving. And he's doing like 100 kilometers an hour with a 6x12 trailer behind us. And we're like getting really close to the highway. I'm like, dude, there's a stop sign and we got to turn. And he's just like this. And I'm like, there's a stop sign and we have to turn. Stop. Then we go like up over the highway and we can't see to the other side
Right.
whether or not the road continues. It did, which was good.
Probably.
It was gravel. So we go up over, and this is in the middle of the winter, and I'm not kidding. As soon as our trailer cleared, a semi just whips right behind us, and I was
dude.
like, all right, Chris, you're done for tonight. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's always scary.
Yeah.
Speaking of not risking your life, yeah, we were in I was doing a theater gig in Quebec City, and like we finished the gig, we were doing a house reset. I was the stage manager, so I was saying bye to all the local crew that was there. But they were doing a house reset, and they were bringing in like a band shell or something like that. So something like they were trimming something down, and something came loose on a line set. and like literally I was walking out the door, like, see you guys later, and then like 2 steps behind me, this giant set piece crashed, like, and I was like, all right, I'm gone, and I just left. I left, and I said, I'm not gonna tell you what theater it was. I'm not gonna tell you any of that, but
I've worked in arenas where pins get dropped, and I'm like, there's a reason that you wear a hard hat.
yeah, we
on the
stopped a
ground.
load in Brandon because of, the shackle fell out of the roof, hit the deck. But yeah, one of the
That's good, because one of my friends runs that venue.
Does he rig in that venue? Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Well, sorry.
Were you there when the riggers were there?
Yeah.
Were they electricians?
I don't know.
It might have been
So how long has he been in that venue?
4 or 5 years now.
Okay, so this would have been before that, for sure. Second thing, I think about 10 years ago, Motley was in that venue. Do you know where this is going? That's one of like the favorite tour stories that everybody says, is because the feeder had to run through like this road inside, but the garbage pickup was inside, and the garbage truck driver ran over all of the feeder or squished it with and they had to bring in miles of feeder from Winnipeg to finish the show, to finish load-in even.
Okay, I didn't know that part of it. I just know that the guy that I started doing this with was the crew chief at the Keystone Center when Motley was there, and he got fired from not from the Keystone, but off of the Motley gig. He got fired in like glorious fashion by the tour manager, production manager was like, you get out. And he's like, if I leave, I don't have any crew. He's like, no, you're leaving. Like, Do you know Joe?
How long ago was that?
Like 10 years ago. Whenever Motley was in Brandon.
I want to know who fired him.
I just know he. Yeah. And now the guy who runs our crew for Country Fest now is the current Keystone.
Oh,
Center
gotcha.
guy. He's a good.
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
but
he's good.
Dino.
Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, there's stuff up there.
Yeah. What's your favorite guitar?
Sorry.
And your favorite of Paul's
Has
guitars?
that been up
We'll go
there for a long time?
That.
Well, it's been there all night.
it's-
We just haven't really been paying attention to
Oh,
it.
sorry. My favorite guitar. Paul doesn't necessarily have a favorite guitar. We started doing these custom Vs
Yep.
that we end up getting them, and we change the frets. We change the neck profile. We do a tummy cut. We do a wraparound bridge instead of a tune-o-matic. We do like this custom-made bar that kind of goes in between the two. We change the output jack. So a bunch of things. I think those right now are probably like his favorite, which we were at rehearsal and we were playing one, and I had wound a bunch of pickups for somebody in LA, and he was like, I'm just not digging this pickup, because he was playing a different Carina V, and I was like, I have some in the car. Do you want to try something else? And so I put in pretty much that bridge pickup.
Yep.
And he was digging it, so we left it in there, and I had to tell the guy in LA that he had to wait for more pickups. But I think the V would probably be Paul's favorite guitars at the moment. It's like he is the kind of guy who he wants like an art piece. He doesn't want to pick up a V off the wall and play it. He wants to
Right.
play something. So that's why the cracked mirror guitars or the rhinestone guitars. Like he'll play a regular PS10 and not have an issue with it, but he likes something with a little bit of character, because that's who he is. He's an
I was gonna
artistic
say,
dude.
you mean he wants it to be showy?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
strange how the.
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
I've never thought that.
What's my favorite guitar? Probably my PRS.
Yep.
Excuse me. My PRS, my Custom 24, which I probably play the least. I mean, here's a better answer. My favorite guitar is whichever one is the closest. It's in tune. You play it all the time. It's just like, it's the most. It's there, and I have lots of them on a rack at home. You got lots of them here, but like something that you pick up and play, and inspires you to play. I think that's the most important thing for me. It doesn't really matter what it can be. Sometimes I'll set up a guitar. It'll be a Les Paul or an SG, and I'll play it. And I'll be like, oh, this is killer, and I'll write some cool riffs on it. Not do anything with them, but the fact that they inspired those riffs, I'm like, hey, do you want to sell this guitar? And the guy's usually like, no, and I'm like, oh, dang. But yeah.
Nice.
Chat about the neck on the strap.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, okay.
Do it.
Yeah. Now I have to put them all the proper way because you guys started doing that. So. Thanks, Sammy.
Sorry.
So this was my guitar. And I hate Fender necks.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the finish on almost all Fender necks. At least any from the like 80s or 90s. And you stripped the finish and oiled this.
Yep.
And refretted it. Stainless frets, I think? Maybe not?
You know what? I'm the worst, because that was probably, 10 years ago?
A long time ago.
Yeah?
At least 8.
Yeah. I mean, stainless has a tone. I mean, stainless is, I don't know if I would have done stainless or not.
I don't remember. I remember asking you if you could do stuff because I asked, like it needed a refret really badly. And because I had played the shit out of it and the guitar teacher that I got it from had played the shit out of it. And I'm like, most of my guitars have jumbo frets.
Yeah.
Or like medium jumbo or whatever it is. And it's just what I'm used to. And Jake, Sam's dad, would not touch it with a 10-foot pole because of the finish and because there's not a separate fingerboard.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So you redid this.
Yep. Stripped up the neck, took the
Yeah.
frets out, redid a refret,
Yeah. And it's like perfect.
which is,
I mean, right now it's not, but
needs some,
yeah, it needs.
It's just a
not
little dry.
terrible.
Needs a lot.
it's dry. But this is,
I have the.
Sounds great.
So I gave
does
this to
that,
my
like,
brother because this was the guitar teacher that I had was like the first guitar player my brother really played with. They were good buddies, and my brother always loved this gunmetal blue color.
Yeah.
And like
It's a nice
one
color.
day, being kind of nostalgic, I was like, you can have it, man. And then I regretted it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I bought another one this past year that
Yeah.
is pretty much identical.
So this one you don't own anymore?
No. So
Oh.
Luke is my nephew. So this is my brother's / does he call it his or is it yours?
It's his.
Okay.
I call it his.
How old are you, Luke?
Yes.
24.
20.
Oh, so
Close.
how old would you have been when this guitar came into
You wouldn't
your...
have been alive yet.
What? No. No.
When it was made?
No,
Probably
when
like
I
20.
did the
You
work
were
on
probably like
Oh.
12 or 14.
Yeah,
when I gave it to
somewhere
him.
around there.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I was
Like-
playing guitar.
it. So
Yeah.
did you put a lot of hours on this guitar?
Yeah,
Oh,
for a bit. And then Derek gave me another one. Now I use that.
what a nice guy.
I know.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the story of why I gave you that guitar, or do you remember why?
I have no idea why.
Oh, okay. Do you remember the deal that I made you?
Oh yeah. Right. Now I remember. But I don't know why you gave it to me.
So I made Luke a deal when he started playing guitar. So I bought him like this little like Squire
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there.
piece
Square
of
Mini.
shit thing, right, when he started. And you kind of dropped it early. Like you dropped playing early on and weren't really playing much and we're playing video games. And I remember talking to my brother and I was like, man, you should play more. And he's like, I know, he's into video games. I'm like, all right. So I made a deal with him that I said, tell you what, Luke. I said, the day you get better than me, you can come to my house and you can pick any guitar off the wall of mine and you can have it. And then I also regretted that. Because I'm like, this kid's gonna come take like my PV Wolfgang, like my
No,
number
those are
one.
ugly
I
and
know
they
you
play
won't.
Terrible.
Yeah. So one day I was just like, he loved this. I had the Bluesman Vintage Strat,
Yeah.
and you were a big fan of it, right? And I was just like,
No, my dad brought
Oh.
it home to.
oh,
I forget why.
because your dad told me that you liked it, and I was like, all right, well, just tell me you can have this one then. That's good. But
That's killer. Which does he like better? This one or the...
oh no, he likes the Bluesman one.
You like the
Yeah,
Bluesman more?
the Bluesman.
Bigger neck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
way fatter.
Yeah.
Not like that
Okay.
one, but still pretty
Yeah.
fat.
Nice fat necks.
Yeah.
I remember you talking, and which one did you get first? Did you get the Telly or the Strat first?
Telly.
You got the Telly first?
Yeah.
And then the Strat you would have picked up like...
So I had 4 of them for a while.
Oh, okay. That's
So I
what
had
it
the Telly, and then I got a Seafoam Green Strat that was really killer, but I sold it. Not for any reason, just like I don't normally sell stuff anymore, but I just have gotten to the point where like if I like I had by the time I sold that one I had 4 of them. I had 2 tellies and I had 2 strats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't need 60 guitars where just hold on, where 4 of them are kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I
or
gotcha.
like 2 and 2 are the same thing. Yeah. So I've tried to like, you know, and it's also tobacco burst, which I'm not a fan of.
Gotcha.
I like it better than the 3-tone sunburst.
Yeah.
Yes, the 3-tone sunburst has this weird red in it. The tobacco burst is
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Finally, somebody's with me.
I like tobacco burst, but I guess I grew up doing like more of the blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah. So
I grew up there too, but I'm like for strats, I was a way bigger fan of like Blackie, like just black with a white pick guard.
oh, gotcha.
It's still like something I don't have. I don't have a black and white Strat. Like I have the like white and black, but I don't have black body white pick guard.
There's a really nice one over
You
there.
did though, didn't you? Or no,
The
I'm
Mini?
thinking of-
Yeah.
Did you not
It's
have
awesome.
one?
Nope.
For a bit. You had your red Strat.
Yeah, I had a red Strat.
Oh no, I'm thinking that. I don't know why I'm thinking that SG. You had that black SG.
I had an SG. I hate SGs for the most part. I think they sound amazing and they play decently if they don't have the 50s neck. But
One
Or
of
if
the
they
gu-
don't do this.
yeah, I can't send the neck dive.
Yeah.
One of the guitars that I test pickups in probably the second most frequently, because I wind a lot of humbuckers,
Yep.
and I have just an Epiphone Les Paul Custom that I just like. I don't care about it.
Yep.
I'll leave the neck pickup out if I just have a bridge pickup, and I'll scratch up.
Yep.
I'm not worried about it. The second one that I test out, I have a black American Standard Strat that I've had forever.
Yep.
But I have an HSH pick guard. I have an HH pick
yeah.
guard. I have an SSS pick guard. I've got a 3P90 pick guard.
Oh, cool.
Which is very weird. And then I did a swimming pool route
Nice.
in it, so that I can literally plug this thing into anything as long as it's got trim space.
Yep.
Like if it's a trim space pickup or whatever. But yeah,
I don't remember when I gave this to you if it had this electronics in it or not. I used to have an HSS which had like a Seymour Duncan Invader and then 2 other Duncan pickups in it when I played live. But I got to the point where I could afford to buy different guitars for different like uses rather than trying to take one thing and make it work for everything. So that's when I started like taking all of my guitars that I had where I had change pickups and returning things back to stock until I found out about Fluence, and then I went nuts and put Fluence in way too many things.
yeah. I mean, it's a great pickup design.
Yeah.
I would probably. I mean, I think the SSS is probably where I would gravitate. But there's something about an HSS too. I think Amy bought me an HSS, if I'm not mistaken, and I ended up selling it for a down payment on our house, and then I rebought the same guitar like years later, and I still have it. But
Nice.
But having a nice HSS that's what I grew up playing, 25.5-inch scale HSS on a Strat.
My favorite, if I have to pick a guitar, is that Schecter Mick Johnson.
Yeah.
The HSS.
Yeah.
Great bridge. The neck is amazing. Pickups sound good.
What is
Yep.
this one?
That's the import.
That's the import telly, yeah.
That's a Strat.
Import Strat.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I just saw the headstock from here.
The import telly is significantly better to me. It's really quite good.
Fixed bridge is easier to do.
Do you prefer
offshore
the
and make
Nick
it good.
Johnsons over the Sirs?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Any
I don't
reason
think I
why?
can say yes faster.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
I don't think either of them are a superior instrument. I just like how that feels, yeah. It just has like kind of that modern C neck that I really like. That just feels a little more fine-tuned.
Does it feel a little bit more American Strat rather than being something completely different?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I don't like the finish on Sir necks a lot of the time. Gets into fender land for me a lot of the time, and
yeah.
that Wenge neck just feels
That
unbelievable.
over-polished poly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
So on Les Pauls, do you prefer nitro or is that your thing?
I don't know.
I
doesn't
prefer, I
know what that
prefer
means.
PRS finishes over all of
Yes.
them.
PRS finishes. PRS, I will say, are the only painted necks that my hand doesn't stick on.
Yeah.
That I feel is really good. But I will say, is that the 91 Les Paul there? Yeah.
This guy?
That feels great no matter what.
Oh, which I
I
didn't.
hate the finish on that guitar.
Yeah, it's like Cherry Burst.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. What's funny story about that? When I was 14 or 15 years old and I first found out about Les Pauls, because that's really when I started to like see guys playing them that I actually really liked. And the first time I actually played a Les Paul, that I wanted for years was a Cherry Burst Studio.
Yeah.
Was like one of the first ones I'd go to Long McQuaid and, you know, like the Wayne's World, like go visit your dream guitar.
Yeah.
That was the one I would go visit. And now
Really?
that finish, I'm just like, ugh.
It's a little bit more Ronald McDonald
Yeah.
to me. Seems like
That's
a
a
little bit.
great way to put it.
Yeah, Ronald McDonald versus what people used to call him. Nitro. I mean, Nitro, I don't know. There's something. So the reason why I think I like PRS finishes is because Nitro's so thin, right? Easy to burn through, but it's also really like, it never really flashes off. The guitar breathes a poly like that. The guitar is just a little bit more expressive. And on a PRS, they do like a really thin, hardened finish, which still allows the guitar to like, to vibrate a little bit more. That's my opinion, of course. Clownburst.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the PRS is kind of a thing. It's also the same thing. This is something we didn't even talk about. Is guitar pickups, and this is again too just my opinion, but like an unpotted pickup like that, if you played it in front of a Marshall, it's just going to squeal, right?
Right.
If you're like super high gain playing in front of an amplifier. I feel like the majority of pickup manufacturers overpot their pickups for the purpose of, and this is again just my opinion, for the purpose of making sure that when it gets into a guitar and somebody's playing it in front of an amp, it doesn't have any microphonic feedback.
Right.
But I almost feel like if you overpot a guitar picket, it almost is like throwing a blanket over top of it.
Okay.
If you cut open old Fender pickups that are like 50s, 60s Fender pickups that are lacquer potted, the whole coil isn't completely saturated in wax. So like a thicker wax, or like, I guess if you could say EMGs, which is like an epoxy potted pickup, it saturates that entire coil. And it almost feels a little bit lifeless. Whereas if you play an unpotted pickup like that, or you play an a medium potted pickup like on my Les Paul, it almost has this interesting airiness over top.
Yep.
A lot more of the organic sound of the pickup comes out, and it doesn't put a blanket over top. But that's just, again, too, my opinion.
All right, so there's some other things I'm supposed to mention, and like Hip Metalworks is still going, and I just realized what time it is. So it is very long, and thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's been a fun
for
time
so
chatting,
long.
Man,
So Pro Series amps are still on sale till May 20th. Is that right?
10th. No,
10th?
10th.
Oh,
Today.
So today's the last day?
Yep.
Oh, I'm wrong. So you got like an hour.
Dang.
For D and G20s.
Can I buy one?
Can you buy one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Sweet.
yeah.
You can. It's your choice.
Yeah. Considering you're a dealer for us, and you guys should check out Prairie Guitars from Regina.
Regina. We'll be in B Sharp Music. We'll have all of this stuff set up, all the pedals. My shop is upstairs at B Sharp Music in Regina. So if you want to come and play it, Mitch teaches at send all your students. They can come check out some D25.
Yeah.
D20, G20.
TJ is he was one of the first guys to reach out to me, and like years ago, actually when you brought this guitar back to me, or when you picked it up,
Yeah, probably.
you were like, hey, if you guys ever do a lightweight
Single 12 combo.
Yeah, single 12 combo, I'm in. So TJ's got the first dealer D25 going out. He picked it up today because they started shipping. You guys started shipping those today, right? I wasn't in earlier today.
The
so.
D25 started shipping today.
You're waiting on foot.
We're waiting on foot switches, and they
The
sent us
rails.
the wrong color of chassis straps.
They screwed up on
They
the color.
sent nickel
Yeah.
ones instead of black. So we had
This looks tight.
we had to send them to get powder coated, and
looks
so
great.
that took a little bit more. But
Yeah, anyone who has a D25 on order, they started shipping today. So
and I saw Zach was in here earlier. Zachary Ryan Saucier.
Zach, your amp will be done tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be heading out right away.
Yeah.
Cosmo Fest. Is that the Cosmo Music?
Yes,
in-
Cosmo Music in what
Aurelia?
do they call it? It's in Toronto to me.
Is it in Aurelia?
No, it's not Aurelia. What is it?
Is it north?
Yeah, there's like
Markham?
Brantford and then Vaughan and then
Markham.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
Markham.
it's technically No, Richmond Hill.
Richmond Hill.
It is in Richmond Hill.
There you go.
Yeah. So yes, I will be there. Sean will be there. I booked my plane ticket a couple of days ago.
Nice.
We'll be giving away hats, and Sean's giving guitar lessons to everybody who comes to the booth, and so am I. Yeah. So if you wanted a lesson from me, definitely come by. I know that's what most people are looking for.
That's why they're coming.
Yeah. I could show you how to not play Sweet Child of Mine properly. Yeah. So,
Nope.
yeah. I didn't do any of the normal stuff we're supposed to do. Join the Rev Amplification community on Facebook. Prairie Guitars on Instagram.
Yep. You got it. And Silljer pickups will be in the next couple months here. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for hanging out.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Yeah. Luke and I will be up. No, you're here for your birthday. Next week's Derek's birthday. We're having fun.
We're going to give away some pedals and some other stuff.
Derek's birthday giveaway next week.
Yeah.
The
I'll be here for part of it. And now's the time. Don't wanna wait till you know.
I'm letting you guys do it. TJ, you can get the full end of stream experience.
We've got more people.